Good morning, everyone. Happy Hump Day, and welcome to the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis, where it's 7 o'clock. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler, with Brooke Grimsley and the one, the only Dan McLaughlin and Matthew Rocc. I'm Randy Carricker. Great to have you with us on this 28-degree morning in St. Louis, Missouri. How are we all doing?
Yeah, that cold weather just smacked you right in the face this morning.
Yeah, it was not great.
Brooke, this is nothing because this weekend it's going to be like 1 or 0. And if you're watching the Kansas City Chiefs game, they're saying it's supposed to be one of the coldest games in the history of the National Football League.
Who are they hosting?
The Miami Dolphins.
Lucky Dolphins.
Oh, they're used to that.
Yeah, they're
right?
used to it all the time.
That loss hurt a little bit more than others on Sunday night for the Dolphins.
So I remember one time.
It was bad.
This is way back in the day, before you kids were even born. That the Chiefs and Dolphins played the longest game in NFL history on a Christmas Eve. And I'm sitting, Dan, you remember little transistor radios where you had the little singular earphone?
Yeah.
I was sitting in church listening to the end of that game.
You're supposed to be paying attention in church,
I was
Randy.
paying attention to church, and Podolak was running for like 140 yards, and Len Dawson was passing for touchdown. Okay, so I got another idea before we get to the show. And by the way, the Blues lost last night 5-1 to the Panthers. But, and we're going to talk to Jamie Rivers today, and then we're going to talk to Robbie Tommy. That's Robert Thomas.
I got it. Yeah, I'm in.
So, if you couldn't pick that up, Robbie Tommy. It might be hard to figure out.
As you guys know, because on my way in, I listened to our friend Michelle Smallman's show, and it is the Michelle Smallman show with those two other guys.
It's unsportsmanlike, really, Randy.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So they were doing Comeback Player of the Year award today, and she had DeMar Hamlin, and somebody else had Joe Flacco. And I texted her, and I said, this is the perfect segment for Good Friday, is it not? The Comeback Player of the Year?
Oh, come on, Randy. The greatest comeback of them all, some say.
Let's see here.
Yes.
We got at 7:15, it's Ask Uncle Randy. At 7:30, the Blues are exactly as Doug Armstrong predicted. At 7:45, it'll be Take It or Leave It.
Here's what we had last night over at Enterprise Center.
I don't need lightning to strike this booth, okay?
No, that would be bad.
Okay. You go right ahead, Randy, with your show.
Thing is, DeMar Hamlin has better hands.
Oh, okay.
That's terrible.
Oh, no, Randy.
Terrible.
Randy.
Nope.
Randy.
I want to be on the record.
Are you saying Jesus can't get an interception?
I'm on the record as saying I'm not a part of this.
If there's anybody that drops a pick and just looks at its hands.
Oh, not the doubling down, Randy.
Let's see. Missouri had a tough loss against Kentucky. SLU plays later, maybe tonight.
Oh, no.
Last night, the Blues.
Mike Vrabel was let go.
Okay. If we want to ignore that, we can.
Last night over at Enterprise Center, Blues taking on the Panthers, who are hot. And 3:24 into the game, Blues grab the lead.
Shen holds it in. Saad, wide open, far wing. Neighbors right down the middle. Pushes it to the goal. Draws a penalty. He scores! Shen finds the rebound. And with a delayed penalty coming, he gives the Blues a 1-0 lead. 3:24 into the first period, his 9th of the year, 1-0 Blues.
12 in a row without a tally for the captain, and he gets one last night.
I thought last night was one of his best games that he's played in a while. He had team high 6 shots on goal. He also was good on the faceoff. I think he was 10 of 16. And as we talked about with John Kelly last night, maybe that is something that gets him going after winning that shootout goal and see if he gets going. But the bottom line is the power play has to get going. And I know you want to play more goals.
Yeah, Kevin Stenlund scoring at the 15:56 mark for Florida to tie the game at 1 apiece heading into the second period. Then Sam Reinhart on a power play goal with Florida scoring 1:11 into the second, and it was 2-1 Florida, and they never looked back. 2-1 after 2 periods, and then early in the third, Matthew Tkachuk gave the Panthers some insurance.
Verana hands it off to the Panthers, and the pass comes up ahead to Tkachuk. Tkachuk hits the trail of Verhaeghe to Tkachuk. Score! Turnover by Jacob Vrana inside the blue line. Leads to a Panthers rush and a Matthew Tkachuk goal. 3-1 Florida. 17:42 to go in the third.
Oh, those turnovers, they'll kill you.
Yeah, and Drew Bannister had a lot to say about that moment specifically after the game. He felt like that was really a turning point in the worst way for the Blues, because when you lose those one-on-one battles like that with Vrana, and also, by the way, he just came up after being sent down for so long, because we've seen so much of, it felt like that back and forth between Vrana and the Blues of really getting the most out of him, and then you have that happen last night. And it was not a good moment for Vrana once again.
So Vrana and Hayes were on the ice 3 different times, even strength goals against. Ouch.
Yeah.
And he gave away the puck. And you know what, to your point, Brooke, that's what they're asking him to just compete. Like, chip it in, go compete in the corner, and don't get it, have a giveaway. And that was, to me, that was the play of the game. Because when it became 3-1, this game was going to be out of reach once the Florida Panthers got the lead like that.
And Matthew Tkachuk made sure of that. He scored at 5:57, and then the Panthers tried like heck to get him the hat trick. And then at the 19:03 mark, they finally got it for him.
And in front, Perunovic again on the near side. Neighbors trying to center. He put it right off the goalie. It gets kicked loose. Tkachuk to the empty net for the hat trick. He's got it. Matthew Tkachuk in front of a bunch of family and friends here tonight scores a natural hat trick in the third period, and the Panthers lead by a score of 5-1. And a few hats will fly onto the ice here at Enterprise Center.
5-1 was the final. Panthers out shooting the Blues 31-30. Not a great night for Joel Hofer, by the way. And the Blues will be back at it coming up tomorrow night when they welcome the New York Rangers to town.
Sam Reinhart has 14 power play goals. The Blues as a team have 12.
How about that?
12. They went 0 for 4 again last night. It's the 9th time that they have been 0 for 4 in a power play situation in games. They are now 12 for 113. That is 11% on the power play, dead last in the National Hockey League. Ouch.
It's really, really bad. And it's been the big talking point all season for the Blues, because your power play is supposed to be a huge turning point in the game. It's a moment where you can really regain some momentum, and also the timing of the power play too for the Blues not to be able to capitalize on that. And if it would be one thing. We know that Justin Falk is still not available. We know that Vrana has been added to the power play, but still this has been a continuing issue for the Blues. So you can't even excuse those things happening.
I thought the first power play actually was pretty good for the Blues.
Yes.
It was about 8 minutes to go in the first period. There was movement. There were bodies in front. There were shots. I loved that part of it. There was actual shots on goal. Kyrou hit the crossbar.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, this power play looks like it should have been looking the entire year. And then it reverted back to what we saw the rest of the game. And it just, you can't put your finger on it. There's talent out there. At times, I think the second unit's better than the first unit.
Yes.
And you know what? They just can't score in the power play. And it's a situation where now they've had 7 times to get over 4 games above 500 and can't do it. 7 different times, and last night was another chance.
It's bad. It's really, really bad at this point. And I don't know what you can change, because personnel-wise, you have what you have. We discussed Colton Parayko joining in.
Change coaches. You got Brad Richards as a consultant.
Yes.
You've tried a million different things. It is what it is.
At this point, what can you do to even change it moving forward?
Get Alex Ovechkin in his prime.
Well, they did have a little different. They shifted Thomas and Shen, and they had a little bit more movement. So I mean, they did try some things a little bit differently, but still, it's the same personnel, and they can't score. Period.
They just don't have that guy.
And Jacob Vrana. I mean, what do you do with that?
Yeah, he's got to be at the end game, doesn't he? With St. Louis,
Yes.
There's a reason that he's on his 3rd team.
Yes.
And it's not. I know that he's had other extenuating issues, but he just doesn't try hard consistently.
Well, again, on one of the goals, chip it in.
Yeah.
Go get it. Make the safe play. And instead it gets picked off. You get Tkachuk scoring a goal and makes it 3-1. That was the game at that point. Last night watching that reminded me of like watching a football team that is just pounding the football and wearing the opposition down. And Florida is really good.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, they're outstanding. They've won now 8 straight. They have 29. They're plus 29 in goal differential in these 8 games. They're really good. They're really fast. And they can be physical, too. But I went from watching that in the second period and watching how sloppy the Blues were in the offensive zone, thinking you're down 2 goals. There's no way this team's coming back.
No, exactly. Meanwhile, last night, college basketball, 6th-ranked Kentucky gets 6 players into double figures. They take care of Mizzou 90-77. Tigers were never really in the game. Football yesterday, Brooks Tennessee Titans fired their head coach, Mike Vrabel. Here is Adam Schefter of ESPN on why the Titans decided to make this move during the course of this week when they could have done it on Monday, they could have done it on Friday, but they decided to do it on Taco Tuesday.
They were in a situation where they felt like they were better off making a change. Look, there have been questions and speculation all year long about Mike Vrabel wanting out. So I think this was kind of a two-way street in my mind, that both sides were interested in this, but the Titans obviously made the move, and he's out today.
It wasn't a popular move. I will go ahead and say that. From everything that I have understood, and you guys could see it as well, based off the reaction from former players, current players, a lot of people respect Mike Vrabel. I liken him personality-wise to Craig Berube. Obviously, Berube has the championship. We're talking about specifically the personality here. He has a very strong, blunt personality, and he also can be very, very nice once you get to know him a little bit better. But he's also fair in a lot of ways. I think that the breaking point, honestly, between him and the Titans is when they traded A.J. Brown. That was the end, because Mike Vrabel made it very clear that that was a player that he did not want to part with, and they parted with him anyways. It is very important to note that it's not the current GM that traded away A.J. Brown. It was Robinson, and that was a big part of Robinson leaving. And at the same time here, I understand. Vrabel is very likable. I know that on Bussin' with the Boys, if you guys have seen that podcast with former Titans, Will Compton and Taylor Lewan, he was a guest on there. So a lot of people, I feel like, really, really like him. But at the end of the day, it is a business. And the Titans, I mentioned this yesterday, but they were 13-21 over the past 2 seasons under Vrabel and have missed the playoffs for the second year in a row. And they also haven't scored. Now, this is a very scary stat for Titans fans. They haven't scored 30 points in over 2 calendar years. That doesn't even sound real, but sadly it is real. And if you watch the Titans the past 2 years, then you would understand exactly what's going on here. I think that they needed to get ahead of this, and I understand that there were talks that they could have made a trade, different things like that. But at the same time, if you look at some of these openings that are going around right now, all the coaches that you would want, Bobby Slowick, including that with the Texans, and then you have Ben Johnson with the Lions. Those other vacant jobs, they're already putting in requests for those head coaches. And if you want an offensive-minded coach, then you have to get ahead of the game in that.
I went back and looked at, okay, why had they struggled so much? And then why do people love him so much? 3 trips to the playoffs.
Yes.
AFC Coach of the Year, made it to an AFC championship. But he did it with Marcus Mariota, Ryan Tannehill, Blaine Gabbert, Malik Willis, Josh Dobbs, and Will Levis. So when you start thinking about some of the QBs that he was working with,
yes,
and then you ask yourself, okay, he's done a pretty good job with the QBs that he had, QB-driven league. Where are the other players? Where's the player personnel stepping up with this? It's not Mike Vrabel's fault. And that's why he'll be wanted once he gets out there.
100%. And that's the thing, is that I understand both sides of it in the sense of maybe this was not a relationship that was working out anymore. And I also believe that Vrabel probably didn't want to stay in Tennessee anymore. I think he wanted to have this new chapter, this new start, and it just wasn't working out with the Titans, and hopefully everybody can move on for it. Now, it is very Titan-esque that it gets handled in this way, so I'm personally not surprised, because I've seen a lot of things being a lifelong Titans fan, but this is definitely a move that can hurt you in the long run, where a lot of people can be making fun of you.
We're off and running on this edition of the Opening Drive on 101 ESPN. Coming up, it is Wednesday, and that means it's Ask Uncle Randy Day.
Why do you call it Uncle Randy? This is just Randy now.
I am avuncular.
This is just Randy.
Well,
Yes.
You know, it's just Randy.
People treat me. Thank you, Matthew. People treat me kind of as an uncle. So
okay,
yeah, you can. I'm the trusted uncle. So you can
the
text
weird
in.
uncle.
Yeah.
Okay.
314-399-9646. The cool uncle. 314-399 Yo-ho. Your question for Uncle Randy next on 101 ESPN. for Ask Uncle Randy on 101 ESPN. Get your text in right now, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YOHO. All right, Matthew Rocchio has your questions for Ask Uncle Randy. Take it away, sir.
Somebody says, "Dear Uncle Randy, what's wrong with having a little fun at work?" I think they're talking about Yoho, by the way.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with having a little fun at work. Yoho is fun. Talking about comebacks is fun. I just think fun is fun. I enjoy fun.
You think fun is fun?
Yeah. Well, there's people that are offended by the fact that I suggested that Jesus had the greatest comeback of all time. The greatest. How can you argue that?
I agree. Dear Uncle Randy,
Better than Tua, and I would have gone with Tua this year.
You would have. Okay.
Tua,
Really?
a lot of people didn't think Tua was going to be able to come back from the concussion. DeMar Hamlin, good, great, okay, fine. He did almost the same thing, except it wasn't as long. But still, no, I would go with Tua.
On a serious note, Joe Flacco, I feel like is a good. I feel like that's a pretty good choice.
he rose from the
5
couch.
games.
He rose from the couch. Yes, there you go.
Okay, good.
Dear Uncle Randy, are St. Louis drivers the worst drivers in snow, or is this just every city complaining like this?
No, I think that we are pretty close. Because here's the thing. We get snow. We had some last night. We've had some over the last couple of days. We are in SEC country, okay? So what we are as SEC country, we're like Atlanta. We're like Gainesville. We're like Tuscaloosa. We're like Nashville.
Baton Rouge.
If they get snow, they would be horrible drivers. Difference is they don't get snow. So, yes, an SEC state that gets snow is inherently going to have the worst snow drivers. Yes.
To Randy's point, I'll never forget the pictures from Atlanta when they got hit with a snowstorm, and there were cars pulled over on the side of the highway, and you could see grass under the snow.
It was Super Bowl week.
That's how light the snow was that completely shut down Atlanta. There was still grass visible under the snow on different parts of like lawns and stuff like that.
They canceled a hockey game because of an ice storm. Hockey is played on
Ice.
Who was it that didn't Chipper Jones go out in his four-wheeler?
Say Freddie.
Yeah, it was with Freddie Freeman, correct?
And they made a bobblehead out of it, remember?
Yeah.
Look, just to defend the South, just a wee bit, okay? So
By
they
the way,
usually
we are the South. So.
Oh yes, of course.
SEC.
But I'm saying for those other areas where they really can't experience it, they don't have the resources like the salt trucks and stuff like that. They have some, but not as much as you have here. Like I saw salt coming in. So that's why.
We have the
so maybe it's
resources,
not that they're bad drivers. It's just that they don't have the salt there.
I'm going to accept it as a St. Louisan. I'm going to own it. Yeah, we're not great with the bad weather. We are good in the rain. Let's be honest with ourselves.
We're not good in the rain. We're pretty bad in the rain. In fairness, though, the city and the county, for some reason, think that they really need to hold back the paint money in the budget.
Yeah.
And so that just makes things tricky. 314 says, snow, it just means more.
No, it just means more. That's good. That's
I
good.
really like that one. Dear Uncle Randy, my wife and I are going on a straight 5 away game road trip for the Blues, going through Philly, NYC, and Boston. Any recommendations on must-do activities?
Philly, NYC, and Boston.
Yep.
Number one, I would suggest, and by the way, Danny Mack is going to provide you better advice on this than I can. But if you are doing it, I would suggest during the day, Philly, NYC, and Boston, you go see the historical stuff, right?
Yeah,
you go see the Liberty Bell. You go see where they wrote the Constitution and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's the other place.
Yeah. Something for preservation. Preservation Hall is in New Orleans. It's the hall in.
You see the Liberty Bell. You can do all that. Yeah.
History.
New
Just
York,
history. A lot of history.
New York is easy, especially if you haven't been there. Just go up and down Times Square. Maybe find a show on Broadway. There's a little thing right at the top of Times Square called TKTS where you can get half-price Broadway show tickets.
I would say, though, when you're in New York, I mean, Broadway for sure, but you have to go see the 9/11 memorial.
Yep, absolutely.
It's a must. It's gut-wrenching, and it's history.
Yep.
You know, I mean, you got to go there.
Junior's Cheesecake, right? Got to go there. And then Boston, same thing. Historical.
You were thinking Independence Hall.
Independence Hall. There you go.
Yes. I thought it would come to you, but go ahead.
I stopped thinking about it.
Okay.
It was giving me a headache.
Sure.
But yeah, there's a lot of cool things, and just go to downtown Boston, and you'll. And by the way, Brooke, you were there during the Stanley Cup run. The North End has a great array of restaurants, right? That you want to go have some Italian food.
I was
their
so
version of the
busy.
Hill.
Yeah, I was so busy. I didn't actually get to eat that much. I just had a lot of the food that they provided, which, I mean, they provided great media meals, actually. The Blues did as well, but so did Boston. And they even had a lobster night.
I would take the trains, too, when you're up east. If you have the chance to do that, train from place to place to place, it's fun.
But if you're taking a train to a game, don't wear your Blues or
Yeah, be
Cardinals
careful.
stuff. Yeah.
Be a little careful with that.
I experienced that because I remember after the Stanley Cup run, you just want to go out and celebrate because we'd been so busy leading up to that point media-wise, obviously the players too, but just from a media perspective, you finally were like, okay, we can go out and celebrate. Wearing all blue, go out to the streets of Boston, could not get into anything.
Have you guys been to the 9/11 memorial?
I have.
I haven't.
It's pretty earth.
It is.
You know, it's emotional, I think, when you go there.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Dear Uncle Randy, excuse me. My family, wife's 2 sisters, and their families are going to Corpus Christi for spring break. A month before, I am having shoulder surgery. I am nervous about not having a good time on vacation due to recovery. How do I talk to my wife about that?
Well, it depends on what you want your alternative to be. Number one, a month away from shoulder surgery, you should feel okay. Are you going to be able to play golf? Probably not.
Have you had shoulder surgery?
Never.
You've had knee surgery, right?
No, I only had heart surgery. And wrist,
you had the big one.
The wrist, yeah.
You had the wrist. I remember that. Yeah.
No, I've never. My other joints like that are fine.
You're a finely tuned athlete.
Yeah, but people that I know that have had shoulder surgery, what they do now, it's so routine that your rehab should be to a point where it's not painful. You should be able to travel away a month away from the surgery and a month clear of the surgery. Now, if you don't want to go on said vacation, that's another story altogether. Then you say, man, my shoulder, I don't think I can go on this. I don't think I can do a plane flight. So that's how you talk to her about it.
Yeah, I would say that you just make sure she's happy.
And she'll be happy.
That's
she's
great
cool.
advice.
Even if you're in a sling, so what?
Yeah, spring break trip to Corpus Christi, they'll have fun.
Yeah.
And just
turn the kids loose, have fun, and make sure she's happy.
Yeah.
Because a happy wife is a happy husband.
allegedly.
Yes. Allegedly. No, that's
No,
great advice.
Randy's actually right. It's allegedly.
Dear Uncle Randy, my wife is telling me that I'm already late to take down all of the Christmas lights. I want to leave them up until the end of January, mainly because it's so cold and I don't want to be outside for that long. How do I broach this argument?
Well, number one, unless she wants to do it, you keep them up until the end of January. But my question for her would be, why would you want to diminish joy? The holiday season is joyful and joyous and brings us good tidings and good cheer. Why would you want to eliminate that good cheer, especially when it's cold and I don't want to go outside and do it? So that'd be my play is, hey, let's keep it up to the end of January because it makes us happy.
We still had ours up last night as I went outside. I took the dogs out. They had to go use the restroom. Isn't that what you say with a dog? They have to go use the restroom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do their business.
And our lights were still on, and I'm like, what's going on here? I need to get out there and take them down. It's over. We got to move on. The holiday season is done. It's time to move over, Randy. And I know that, and move on and get it done. I know that you are the biggest holiday guy. You love Christmas.
Happy
You
holiday.
love Thanksgiving. You love all. It's over.
Easter, clearly.
It's over. We're not talking about that anymore, Randy. We turned the page. And so we're done with that, and we're done with the holidays.
Okay,
it's
but
time
here, let
to
me
move
give
on.
our listener, our texter, some help here. Actually, tomorrow, 44 degrees. Friday, 46 degrees. If you have the opportunity to get the outdoor stuff done tomorrow in the afternoon, go for it. But then if you wanted to keep it up till January, if you don't have time until the weekend, only a high of 26 on Saturday. Sunday, a high of 15. Monday, a high of 7. Then next week, our high temperature for the whole week is going to be 30. So, yeah, just wait till the end of the month.
I feel like you definitely need to do it soon-ish, though, if you still want to have a little bit of joy from the holidays. I understand, but you should probably do it soon. It's done. It's wrapped
over.
up. You got it. You should
Time
get
to
it
move
down
on.
because it snows even more here soon. I feel like February it tends to snow here more.
You guys are forgetting the best thing to do is right around right when you can start listening to that first spring training baseball game with some earbuds, and that's when you get the ladder out. It's nice 55 and balmy, and that's when you take down the lights here. It's about practicality, people. Practicality.
Might as well keep them up for the whole year if you're doing that.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree with that statement. You got a good idea.
Yeah, Ron always kept his tree up because he was lazy. He admitted that. He took off every single ornament except for his Walter Payton ornament and just had a tree up in the corner, which is pretty cool. Some people, you break a leg, break an ankle, and you just can't walk. You have to wait till the end of January to do stuff. Sometimes that happens, right? So you can't take your tree down until April or whatever. It happens. So if you have the ability to keep the tree up for a while, unless your wife is ready to take down the outdoor decorations in the 0-degree temperatures, I'd say keep it up. That's what I say. Thank you, Matthew.
That's what you say.
Are you ready?
And thank you very much for your text.
That was an interesting Uncle Randy.
Well,
You get some interesting questions.
I want people to go through life happy, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coming up next on 101 ESPN, there was an interesting point made last night on the socials about how people should not purchase the Peacock game on Saturday night because that way the NFL won't stream games anymore. Let me tell you something. You aren't slowing the NFL down. We'll tell you why next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues last night fall to the Panthers 5-1, and they'll be back in action on Thursday evening. They host the Rangers. That'll be a 7 p.m. puck drop. You can catch the pregame show right here on your home for the St. Louis Blues starting at 6 p.m. In college basketball last night, Missouri falls to number 6 ranked Kentucky 90-77. And back in action tonight, St. Louis Billikens host St. Joseph's. That's a 6 p.m. tip-off down at Chaffetz Arena. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your Road & Shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Okay, here in St. Louis, we, rightfully so, do not like the business of the National Football League. And the National Football League negotiated a deal with NBC to air an exclusive Peacock playoff game tomorrow. The Chiefs game, or on Saturday, rather. The Chiefs game against the Dolphins on Saturday night, 7 o'clock Central Time, is going to be exclusive to NBC's streaming service, Peacock. And people that don't have Peacock, some of them, are up in arms saying, hey, we shouldn't buy this. Here's the thing, though. The NFL is going to get people to buy it. Peacock already got a bump when the NFL had an exclusive Peacock regular season game during the season. NFL regular season games this year, kids, averaged 17.9 million viewers, tied for the second highest average since they were first tracked in 1995. Second highest NFL viewership since 1995. A 24% increase in 2 of the 5 packages. The Monday Night Football package with Joe and Troy, highest ratings for Monday Night Football since 2000. And here's the kicker. This is, if you're ever at a party and you want to do a party trick, here's a good topic of conversation for you. Of the top 100 television shows in 2023, top 100 television shows in 2023, 93 of them were NFL games. 93 out of 100 of the top TV shows in America last year were NFL games. So the NFL train is not going to be stopped under any circumstances.
No, it's the best reality TV out there. Mm-hmm. There's always constantly something going on, and this is why NFL, and it's just so interesting to watch and captivating, because even during the off season, there's so much drama that's going on, whether it's off the field or on the field. There's constantly something going on with the NFL. There's so many storylines. And of course, there's less games when you're comparing it to hockey, baseball, or even NBA, something like that. And so every single game matters more. But even if you look at this past weekend, everything that happened, Dan, I know you talked about it earlier, but that Bills and Dolphins game, I mean, that is something where when you're watching that, there's so much on the line. And there were several games like that this past weekend where you're hooked. And I think fantasy football and gambling has also played a huge role in this, of continuing to grow the NFL's infatuation, if you will, with the public.
It's massive, and it's not a regional sport. It's a national sport.
It's the national, that in college football.
It's the national pastime.
Yeah.
And as much as I love baseball and we call it our national pastime, baseball is now a regional sport. It's here in St. Louis and the surrounding states. It's regional. It's a huge footprint in the country, what the Cardinals get, but it is regional. You know, if you look at what's happening with football, and even the college football playoff this weekend or on Monday night did 25 million. So it was the highest rated ever. Football is a behemoth, and it's a national product. And the other part that the NFL does so well, to your point, Brooke, is that they put these games in the right spots. You know, you got the 4:15 Eastern window. You got your primetime games. Sunday Night Football is a great game. Monday Night Football is a great game. And then eventually you get to the flex part of the schedule. They're putting the best teams in the proper places for fans to watch. They've done it perfectly. It's a behemoth, and it ain't going anywhere.
So we already have the Thursday night games on Amazon. We have these Peacock games. We know where we're headed. All we need to do is just look at the breadcrumbs that have been laid out for us. We know where this is all headed. How long is it before we have pay-per-view Super Bowls?
I don't think they will do that.
Really?
I don't. I think it's a great idea, and I know where you're going with this, but I think that you still have to keep the customer in mind for your biggest entity. So everybody's watching, and you might hook in somebody that then becomes a fan for life. And I do think that that's important. You can't totally go for the all-time money grab, which would be NFL on pay. I just don't see that happening. I really don't.
Well, and you kind of already have it happen in some ways, just on a smaller scale of if you don't have certain streaming services, then maybe you won't be able to see the game you want. If you have completely cut the cord with cable, which we know that that's something that is happening with a lot of viewers now, is a lot of people don't have cable anymore, and it's streaming services that they're turning to.
I think you hit it on the head, though, Brooke, and I think you're 100% right. The advent of fantasy football and gambling. And gambling now is prevalent and legal in the majority of states around the country. And when you have those two things, I'll give you a great example. You know, my kids love fantasy football, and they are teenagers. Now, they're not out gambling, at least God forbid, I hope they're not, but you never know. Hopefully I still got a home when I get done with this show. But, you know, they love fantasy football. And fantasy football drives the bus for a lot of these people to become fans of the National Football League.
And that means that people want to tune in. And that's why YouTube experienced a bump with the Sunday ticket package. Even though you had to spend a bunch of money, YouTube actually experienced a huge bump financially with their acquisition of the package. The Red Zone packages are still doing really well, both on cable and on DirecTV.
It's phenomenal.
Yes.
And if you're a fantasy football player, you see every single score. And if you're a gambler, and there's a lot of gamblers out there, as you mentioned, Dan, you are seeing every single score. And I just look at the big event. So last year, 115 million people watched the Super Bowl, 115.1. If you put the Super Bowl on a pay-per-view at $50 and got 100 million people to buy it, that'd be $5 billion.
Wow.
If you're the NFL, don't you take a shot?
Again, though, I don't think you want to upset your customer. Like, you're money grabbing on a lot of different things. You are. I mean, if you're putting, for instance, a game exclusively on Peacock, you're going to upset a lot of people.
You are.
You're going to upset a lot of people. There are older folks that don't know how to get it. You're going to have younger folks that say, I'm not going to do this. You're going to have other people that say, I'm not signing up for a 30-day free trial to go get this. I want it to be on CBS, NBC, Fox, or ESPN. Or ABC.
I agree with that, but I think in 5 years, for example, baseball in 5 years, we aren't going to. Every single baseball game in 5 years, every single regular season baseball game is going to be streamed.
100%. Do you think that when you're talking about baseball and all these other leagues, do you think that they're looking at the NFL? Because I feel like the NFL has done such a great job of just really getting people used to streaming and where you're having more of that viewership. I'd be curious what the average age is that is watching the NFL, if there's like a peak there of that age range, because all the other leagues, they want that. We know that everything is going to streaming.
To your point, Brooke, the average MLS fan is 40 years old. All right, so for every 50-year-old fan, there's a 30-year-old fan that's watching. The average NFL fan is 50, but they're finding their way. And
I thought is it really 50? I would even think it'd be younger.
I would think it'd be younger too.
Interesting.
Well, they've got everybody. That's the thing and baseball is 57.
Yeah.
But I think that because of streaming, I think it'll become so second nature. We're going to be so used as a society to paying for whatever we consume that I don't think that selling a pay-per-view package for the Super Bowl is out of the realm of possibility, simply because we already have to. We're paying for Netflix. We're paying for Peacock. We're paying for YouTube TV. We're paying for content already. Some people are paying for Sirius XM radio. This is free, though.
It does get a little greedy, though, right?
It
like
does.
at a certain point,
but
it does get a little greedy.
But it'll also, I think, on the consumer's part, become the expectation.
The consumption of sports now, it's going to be fascinating, to your point, Randy, I'll give it 10 years. So let's take the 15 to 17-year-old right now that's very, very good on their phones. They understand social media. They understand everything about it. I don't care if you're talking about Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, obviously Instagram, and their consumption of games is highlights. It's not sitting down and watching a 3.5 hour baseball game, football game, any of it. It's just going through it very quickly. And I think that's going to be interesting to see how that younger generation gravitates towards, am I going to sit down and watch a full football game? It's going to have to become an event. It's kind of like when you go to the ballpark, and some people just don't want to sit in their seats. They want to go to an area that's got the bar, the restaurant. I can stand. I'm at a table with 4 of my buddies and hanging around and having a good time. I wonder if that's where we're going with the TV experience as well.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like how you see all these new stadiums, whether it's the NFL, the Titans building, $1 billion stadium, that they're adding all these like cool elements in there, right, to keep people or even get them in the door at this point. But when it comes from a TV standpoint, I still think the NFL is just one of the most exciting things to watch. And that is the question, though, with that younger generation, will they still be able to sit through it? I think another thing the NFL, and this is just kind of another bigger picture thing, also Madden. If you look at the video games, that's how they're also able to get all these age ranges involved, because at all levels, I mean, that's a younger generation. What do they like to play?
Yeah.
They like to play video games, and they love to play Madden. And so the NFL has done such a good job of branding and hitting all those age ranges that I'm sure every other professional sports league is looking at that model and saying, how do we at least get a piece of that, what they're able to accomplish?
One other note, by the way, about TV, there was supposed to be a hearing today regarding Bally and the three teams that are kind of on the fence in terms of getting their money from Bally: Guardians, Rangers, Twins. Well, that hearing
pushed that back, didn't they?
Pardon me?
Didn't they push that back?
Yeah, to the 20th. It was supposed to be today. Now it's going to be on the 20th. One of the reasons the Rangers haven't gone out and signed pitching is because they don't know if they're going to have money for this year. Guardians, Twins. So one of the reasons that the Twins didn't make an offer for Sonny Gray, he expected to be there, but they didn't know if they were going to have a TV deal. Baseball wants Bally to guarantee that they're going to be there for the whole season. And to this point, Bally has not made that guarantee. The speculation here is that the two sides are closing in on a deal and will be able to avoid the court case. So give them 10 days to negotiate, and Minnesota, Cleveland, Texas would know, in addition to the Cardinals and many other franchises, they would have 12. Bally would have 12 MLB franchises. They would know exactly how much money they're going to get for the 2024 season.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing. When you have that guaranteed check of millions of dollars, in some cases hundreds of millions of dollars coming your way, well, that's a chunk of your business that you know is coming in, which allows you then to make your budget. And if you don't have that, you're left with your hands out and saying, what are we going to do? And I know there are fallback plans. I know that Major League Baseball could take it over, and I know these teams have been planning for this for quite some time. But still, when it hits, it hits.
And you don't have that inventory sold on the day that it hits. You've got to sell it.
Yeah.
If you're Major League Baseball, you don't all of a sudden have, if you're the Cardinals side of things, granted, Bally has Jack in the Box sold. If you're Major League Baseball, do you have Jack in the Box sold to your own network? You don't. So it's going to take some time. Brooke, Dan, Randy, Matthew, and coming up next year on 101 ESPN, you need to get your text in to the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. Thanks, Dan. Let's try it again. 314-399-9646, 314-399-9646.
9646.
Take it or leave it next on 101 ESPN.
take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Get your text in now for Tiole Kids. I don't know if you saw last night, but Miami Heat head coach Eric Spoelstra agreed to an 8-year, $120 million contract, making him the highest-paid coach in American sports history. Take it or leave it, when Jim Harbaugh signs with an NFL team, he'll make more.
Make more than that?
I'm going to leave that.
Yeah, make
I'm going to
more
have to
than...
leave that, too.
I think he's going to make more.
Really?
How about Eric Spoelstra going from a video coordinator to now signing an 8-year, $120 million deal? That's
awesome.
That's
incredible.
Insane. Yeah. I still can't get over that. That's just absolutely crazy.
How many is that a year? What's the AAV? I'm not a math guy.
Well, 120 divided by 8.
15? Is it 15, 30?
15, 30, 45,
15?
60, 75, 90.
Right?
Yeah, you're right around there.
15, 30,
Roughly.
60, 120,
Wow.
yeah. Yeah, $15 million a year. Yeah, Harbaugh will eclipse that.
We'll see. Take it or leave it, guys. And I'm going to put you on the spot because I know we discussed it a little bit, but now I want to see where everybody stands in the room. Take it or leave it. The Titans made a mistake firing Mike Vrabel.
Leave it.
I'm going to leave that.
Here's why. They spent a premium draft pick on Malik Willis. He didn't advance, didn't get better. And spent a number 1 pick this year on Will Levis. Or was it a number 2? Number 2 on Levis, right? Mm-hmm. But they've spent premium picks on draft picks and Marcus Mariota, and they haven't gotten anything for it. I believe that they need a more offensively inclined head coach because as good a job as Mike Vrabel did, he is playing 1985 football, and it just doesn't work anymore.
Yes, you need more of an offensive-minded coach. And once again, I understand very well liked, but at the same time, I feel like you have to have a different vision moving forward. That seems that's what they're doing over there.
Yeah. By the way, it was 15 per for Eric Spoelstra. Very nice.
Look at you.
Nice. Okay.
Math genius.
I'm going to stay on the NBA front here.
Okay.
Think about this here. LeBron James just turned 39. Some of the current players were just born when he entered the league, and it's incredible, right?
Amazing. I mean, so 03, right? 13, 12?
Yes.
21 years ago.
Yes. In his 21st season, he's averaging 25 points, 7 boards, 7 assists per game. He's shooting 54% from the field. No player has ever averaged at least 25 a game past the age of 36. Again, he's 39. He's going to reach 40,000 points later this season. No active players at least at 30,000. Let me put it in perspective. I did these numbers. This is my Vianney math. If Luka Doncic averaged 28 a game, he wouldn't reach 40,000 until the year 2038.
Oh, man.
Take it or leave it. We aren't appreciating what we're seeing and continuing to see from LeBron James.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Oh, yeah. I'll take it. Yeah.
No one's talking about it, though.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, what he's doing at this age of 39 is remarkable. This was the date of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar got 34,000 points at this date in sports history. And this guy's going to have 40,000 points by the end of this year. That, to me, is amazing.
Yeah.
I was on a show a couple weeks ago that we were doing an extra show in Tim's Hour, and I brought up that the biggest moment of the year was obviously LeBron James becoming the all-time scoring leader in the NBA. And we got multiple responses of people just go, I didn't even think that was a big moment. It's like, then you're not paying attention to the fact that you just got to watch one of the greatest people to ever play a sport's entire career, and you're still watching him do incredible things, and you're just choosing to ignore it. And that's...
I was watching LeBron last night, and I just thought, where is he right now? What is going on? And I just don't think that we're taking enough time to appreciate what he's done, whether or not you like him. But he's an amazing basketball player.
Yeah. All right, what do we got on the text line there, Matthew?
Take it or leave it. Not to sound like an old fart, but the age of TikTok has caused these attention span issues we're seeing with the younger generation.
Not just TikTok, but social media in general, I would say that has been a big part of it.
I'll take it because I do agree, and I think social media in general does play a big part. But I think, Dan, you and I were talking about this in between the breaks, but I feel like a lot of kids now, the way that they consume things, the younger generation, it's just very quick, short videos, and some, want to watch YouTube videos and stuff like that as well, but they aren't sitting through 2-3 hours of a game.
Oh, I don't think they do, and I think the majority of them, if they're a sports fan, they're taking it in on Instagram. You get your highlights, that's how you take it in, or you go back and watch the condensed version of the game. That's how they take it in, and they just move on.
I'm gonna leave it only because this isn't a problem with young people. Like there are 45-year-olds who will sit there and scroll on TikTok for 5 hours. There are 50.
Yeah.
Like there, it's an
epidemic.
Surprise! Everyone's obsessed with their phone. Because it's better than talking to people, but it's been like that for a very long time. That's not like a new generational thing. I don't think so.
And Vine preceded TikTok, right? And you had those short videos. The average human has an attention span of 8.25 seconds, according to recent studies. 4.25 seconds less than 2000.
Yikes.
My thing is, like, there used to be strategies on how, like, to keep your eyes moving through a newspaper and never get bored. Like, it's just different mediums. Always adjusting to the fact that you have a short attention span.
It's like an ancient relic now.
But my point is it's not a new thing for this new generation. It's every generation has the thing that they can't get their nose out of. Take it or leave it. Both the Chiefs and Eagles are done after this weekend.
Take it.
Ooh,
Chiefs aren't going to lose the Cold.
I'm going to leave it. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute.
They're playing bad enough too, but that's not going to happen.
I think the Eagles win too.
Really?
I keep buying into them, and I keep getting burned for my friends. But, I do some work for my friends, and I keep getting burned by the Eagles, but I'm going back with them. Fly, Eagles, fly.
All right.
Their defense is a mess, and their offensive line is a mess.
Their coach is a mess right now.
Yeah, he's kind of messed up.
Yeah.
They got some issues.
Matt Patricia, all of a sudden, that's just it's not gone well.
Take it or leave it. Jimmy Snuggerud will make Jordan Kyrou expendable.
Leave that.
I'm going to leave that.
Yeah. I did find it interesting yesterday, and we haven't talked about this, but the Blues did extend Nathan Walker.
A-dub.
And what it told me is that it gave them a little fourth line clarity. You got Sundqvist, you got Toropchenko, you got Walker. So if these young kids come up, they're not going to a fourth line, which is the way that normally it would happen. You'd have a young kid come up, goes to the fourth, like Jake Neighbors doing that.
Yep.
You start at fourth line, you graduate there, you go to third, second, first, whatever. But if they have the fourth line and they've got clarity with that and certainty with it, these kids come up, they're going to play on a third or a second line.
Well, and Doug Armstrong mentioned how he's looking forward to seeing Robert Thomas and Jimmy Snuggerud working together. So the fact that he even said that here recently, I think, tells you a lot about where they view Jimmy.
Jimmy Snuggy.
Matthew?
Sorry. I'm reading reactions to our LeBron take, and
let's stay focused, Matthew.
Oh 8.25 seconds.
I can't do it.
See?
8.25.
You see, you were talking about people and their focus, Rocc, and then
I'm not saying I have good focus. I'm saying I'm an average person. Therefore, my focus is terrible.
8.25 seconds.
And whether it's a piece of paper or a phone, I get distracted extremely easly. Take it or leave it.
Rick Pitino's, by the way, 8.25 seconds approximately.
Go ahead, Matthew.
Pasta prematura. Take it or leave it. Everyone in St. Louis should be rooting for the Detroit Lions this weekend. We've got a couple St. Louis guys, and we can beat the evil Cronkies.
Poor Sam Laporta. Yes, I agree. Jack Fox, their punter, is great. And, of course, I don't know if Jameson Williams, he was injured last week. I don't know if he'll be in there either. But the three St. Louis guys.
What's the status with Laporta?
He injured his knee, and I don't know if they ruled him out or not yet.
They're still considering him day to day, but... Yeah.
So it's still day to day.
So I'm looking right now at CBS Sports, quote unquote, outside shot for Sam Laporta. Jameson Williams expected to play.
There we go.
You got Matthew Stafford going back to Detroit. You got Jared Goff facing his former team. There's a lot of storylines in that game.
And by the way, Matthew Stafford's wife is angry because some Lions fans on social media are putting together a "Don't Wear Your Matthew Stafford to the Game" group, and she's mad because people don't want to wear Matthew Stafford's jersey. People don't want Lions fans to support Matthew Stafford, the Rams quarterback.
She's very vocal.
I was going to
about
say
certain things.
Yeah, come on.
The question is, do Matthew Stafford's receivers want to wear his jersey? I think that's the real question.
And another point to be made here is that I think she made it pretty clear that Michigan was like communist or something when she was there. So why does she care what they think?
I did not hear that one.
She said that? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think so.
Dan, you're right. She is very vocal.
Very vocal.
To say the least.
Going in waters you don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
Can you say this again? What about me?
Let's see. Are you Googling this?
I don't really know what to Google.
It was. Here you go.
She called him Michigan.
Then she apologized. Yeah, she apologized for calling Michigan's dictatorship Michigan a dictatorship.
Oh,
a few years ago.
I like to forget that year happened.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it. If it's going to be Nadub, that means it's got to be J-Dub, Jordan Walker.
Oh, yeah, I've already got
we've
that.
been
That's
saying
established,
that.
yeah. J-Dub, no doubt about it.
Danny Mac, your thoughts on J-Dub for Jordan Walker?
Sure, sounds great.
Oh, that's not. That was,
No,
that was not ringing.
He always, whenever I would text Dan during the games, he would always fit that nickname in there.
Absolutely. I'd always fit in whatever word you sent to me.
Oh, no.
My all-time favorite.
What did I do?
Who was Alexei? The Alexei that played shortstop for the Padres.
Alexei Ramirez.
Yeah, but I had you steal the Hawk, the Harrelson.
Oh, yeah,
when
yeah,
he would
yeah.
say Alexei.
Yeah.
Alexei! It was fun.
I would do that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
My favorite thing ever is when Randy tried to stick Big Game Gibby Jim.
No, Big Game Gibby Jim.
Gibby Jim to really just completely just mess with everyone's head and forever screw up that poor kid's name. Big Game Gibby
Jim. Kind of like Big Game Timmy Jim.
And you're talking about Gibson Jimerson.
Yeah,
Yes.
Gibby Jimmy.
Yeah.
Big Game Gibby.
I tried to get Dan to do that. Yeah, I got it. And I still use
Because
it.
I couldn't do it.
It was a tongue twister. It was mean.
But I didn't try. I just couldn't get it out, you know?
Yeah.
I've been working on that one for a while. Now his career's almost over.
It's all
Pretty
Randy.
much.
Well, it is.
He's on his, 8th year at SLU?
Yeah, 8th year senior.
Yeah.
Billikens
those
take
extra
on
COVID
St. Joseph's
years.
tonight at Chaffetz Arena.
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
There should be every record shattered in football, basketball, baseball, scoring records because of COVID.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
all these kids are 6-year seniors.
I know. Bo
Yeah.
Nix played 61 games in college as a starter.
There was, 9 6-year players on Washington's team on Monday night.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and college has always been the 7-year plan anyway. Why don't we just get with the program?
Just let them do it.
The players' COVID year,
Yeah.
red shirt. Yes, you have all that going on.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you. Coming up next year on 101 ESPN, our friend Derek Gould from the Post-Dispatch and STLtoday.com made a point about how important left-handed hitting is. But do the Cardinals need to keep all of theirs? That's next on 101 ESPN.
I cannot stress enough the need for left-handed presence in today's game. It's just, you can go like the average OPS during a season compared to the average OPS for right-handed bats in October, it drops significantly. But left-handed bats stay the same. And that, to me, stands out in the postseason. Left-handed bats, just over and over again, you see that value. And the Cardinals have that sprinkled into their lineup. It's not going to be like the thunder of Schwarber. It's more going to be the OBP of Donovan and the OPS of Newbar and the slug of Gorman. But they got it.
That's our friend Derek Gould of the Post-Dispatch and STLtoday.com. By the way, the Baseball Writers Dinner Sunday night at the MAC. The 2004 Cardinals will be honored. Tony La Russa will be honored with the red medal. And some of the young Cardinals will be on hand. And you can get tickets. Just Google St. Louis BBWAA. And when you look at what the Dodgers tried to do, the Dodgers have made it a real point to get left-handed pop for the postseason when they signed Freddie Freeman. Granted, they let Corey Seager get away, but they got the big fish in the best left-handed slugger in the game in Shohei Ohtani. They're trying to do that. Clearly, when you look at Philadelphia with Harper and Schwarber, they are trying to accomplish that. It is important, no doubt, to have left-handed hitting, and it appears pretty certain now that the Cardinals are going to keep Nolan Gorman. But are the Cardinals left-handed hitters good enough to stand up to teams like the Dodgers, Braves, Phillies? Gorman last year led Cardinal left-handed hitters in OPS at 805. Donovan was at 787. He was diminished, clearly, by the injuries. Newbar was at 784. You hope he gets better. Edman, a switch hitter, not great from the left side. And then Alec Burleson is there, and they have Davis on the way, their first-round draft choice from last year. So the question is, when Derek talks about left-handed hitting being so important, is this left-handed hitting good enough to get the Cardinals to the postseason?
Well, I think having a left-handed power bat is always important. So to Gould's point, I completely understand that. And Randy, I know that you and I have talked about this a lot, but Dylan Cease is still floating out there. And it has felt like the Cardinals just need that last little missing piece, which could be Cease, for their starting rotation. But from what we've seen with the trade rumors with the White Sox, they're asking for a lot. So then I'm not surprised with the Cardinals when you hear, of course, the White Sox are going to be asking for a Nolan Gorman, and they're going to be asking for some other of your top 100 prospects, and that's a lot to give up. They want quantity and quality for Dylan Cease. So it's what you guys think personally is more valuable. Is it young, controllable, top-of-the-line pitching, or is it having a homegrown slugger, essentially? When is the last time the Cardinals have had or developed a real slugger?
Well, I'd say Nolan Gorman is the one right now. Probably Jordan Walker would be that guy. Homegrown sluggers, I'd say Alan Craig was a pretty good slugger at one point. You know, he hit runners in scoring position. That team hit 330 that one year, and he was around like 380 or something like that. Depends how you want to define a slugger, at least in my mind. And to me, it's about driving in runs and being able to. Now it's with OPS and whatnot. Thinking about what Derek had to say. The bottom line for me is you got to keep these guys healthy, and the reason I say that is that those three missed 139 games in season days because of injuries, and they were only in the same starting lineup 46 times. I mean, that's a big deal. They averaged nearly a run more when those three were facing right-handed pitching and in the lineup at the same time. Right-handers account for nearly 70% of the starts in Major League Baseball. So if you can counter with good left-handed bats, then you have a chance to win. Lars Nootbaar has missed a lot of time the last 2 years. He's got to stay healthy and stay on the field. Nolan Gorman slugged .477 last year, 23 home runs. I think that easily you could look at him having a 30 home run season if he plays a full season. Brendan Donovan, his on-base percentage career against right-handed pitching is .381. So you put that combination together, and it tells you if they stay healthy, and we're not talking about Ohtani, we're not talking about Schwarber, we're not talking about these big power names, but that combination of the three could really be a thump in the middle of that lineup for the St. Louis Cardinals.
And they need Walker to ascend to what they think he can be. And specific to 2024, they need Arenado and Goldschmidt to either maintain or be better than they were last year.
100%. It's the injuries, to your point, Dan, that have just been the biggest issue. And when you were talking about everything just falling apart last season, one, we saw early in the season starting pitching fall apart. And then you saw you had the players, you had the injuries, you had infielders in the outfield. There were so many different things going on. But keeping Nolan Gorman healthy and keeping Lars Nootbaar healthy, and especially, too, we saw an offensive drop-off when Brendan Donovan exited a little bit later on in the season, too. Keeping those guys healthy is really important. And so it goes back to the question with Nolan Gorman and his value in keeping him around. Not just that, but also he's 23 years old. I think there's a lot of upside, but the back is concerning. When we've discussed the trades possibilities with Dylan Cease or anybody else, of course, Nolan Gorman, I feel like, is somebody that would be the center of that trade if you were going to get a Cease. The back issues is what's concerning. Is that something that
said that?
Oh, about a week back.
Thank you. Well done.
You see, now
Keep
it
going,
is.
Brooke. Don't pay attention to that stuff.
Gosh.
Yeah.
With Nolan Gorman,
Easy, Matt.
the back issues, as you mentioned there, is there anything that gives you pause with that, where you're worried about where we could have almost a Dylan Carlson situation? Look at how quickly he fell out of favor with the Cardinals.
I think if you're 23 and you got a bad back, I'd be worried about that. I mean, I think that's a natural cause of concern if I'm the Cardinals. You talked about Brendan Donovan. The Cardinals need him every day. And if you looked at what the team did with runners in scoring position last year, they were awful. And he was 70% above the league average. Cardinals were 19th in runs scored. So he's a guy that gives you the tough at bat. He works counts. He gets on base. I just don't think that when you look at the struggles of last year and you can talk about the lack of starting pitching, the bullpen issues, still, this team was 19th in runs scored, and I think a big reason why is Brendan Donovan was not in that lineup.
And if the Cardinals take advantage of the rules as they are in 2024, you would hope that they could get somebody that could steal a base at the top of the lineup. Then Brendan Donovan is perfect as a number 2 hitter. And then you hit Goldie 3, maybe Gorman 4 on Arenado 5. I think it'd be interesting. But you could have a pretty long lineup.
I'm with you, though, Randy. If the team is going to go anywhere, Goldschmidt and Arenado have to be Goldschmidt and Arenado. Yeah. That's number one. And then you can talk about all the left-handed stuff, and you can talk about that Walker needs to emerge, and hopefully Gorman has a good back and all that stuff. Your two big guys have got to be the two big guys. And right now, Goldschmidt is 36 years old. The underlying metrics weren't very good, and the question will be his age, and he'll be a free agent after the season. You know, that's something that you have to consider moving forward is where are you right now with Paul Goldschmidt?
And we also don't know when Victor Scott will make his debut, but I would imagine that when Victor Scott shows up, he'll be at the top of the lineup, and hopefully he'll be stealing bases.
And also another layer to this, as we found out recently, Tommy Edman. Hopefully he will be. They're saying that he will be ready to go for the season, but then you wonder and you hope that that's not going to be a lingering issue for him this season.
And if it is, does that open the door for Dylan Carlson to be a comeback player who was third in National League Rookie of the Year voting in 2021?
The center field position last year for the Cardinals was not very good. They combined to hit 200, whether it was Tommy Edman, Dylan Carlson, whomever you want to put out there. Edman hit 185 as a center fielder. And I bring that up because I wondered if his defense carried over to his offense. The demands of center field can take a toll. And that's something you have to keep in mind as Tommy Edman could be your everyday center fielder.
That's today's Fresh Take here on 101 ESPN. Next up, we're going to talk some Blues hockey with our buddy Jamie Rivers, Blues analyst on Bally Sports, and, of course, co-host of the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. Jamie is next. I've made some new friends at Together Credit Union. It is amazing to be a member of Together Credit Union. And if you're looking for a safe investment option, check out Together Credit Union's CD rate and term options and watch your money grow. Now, here's what a certificate of deposit is. It's a safe, virtually no-risk savings tool that boosts the amount of interest that you earn over a specific amount of time. You choose the term based on what your financial institution offers and how long you're willing to leave your money in the CD. And right now, Together Credit Union is offering a competitive 9-month certificate of deposit with an APY of 5.00%. Required minimum balance is $1,000, but it is a great way to save money. The money is guaranteed. That's what you're going to make. There is no fluctuation. You don't have to worry about it. And all you need to do is sign up, become a member at Together Credit Union, and you can get involved with their great deal right now on their CD that has a great rate. Visit your nearest Together Credit Union branch or go online to togethercu.org for details and to start growing your savings today.
Everything St. Louis Blues as we head into the Blues Booth. Presented by Boardwalk Hardwood Floors, a proud partner of your St. Louis Blues. Find your perfect new floor at our 4 convenient locations and online at boardwalkhardwood.com.
Brooke Grimsley, Danny Mack, Randy Carricker, the opening drive, 101 ESPN. Jamie Rivers, our colleague here at 101 ESPN, co-host of The Fast Lane from 2 to 6, and also Blues analyst on Bally Sports, joins us. Rivs, good morning. How you doing?
Oh, good, guys. How you doing?
We're doing great. Let's start with this. Did last night and the result of last night's Blues-Panthers game, was that at all a surprise with the way the Panthers were going?
No, not really. I mean, they haven't lost since they played the Blues in Florida. I mean, that was the last time they lost was when the Blues were down there and beat them. And they've been on a tear ever since. And Matthew Tkachuk, I mean, he's been on a tear before last night's game. And then last night, he puts up 3 goals, and he's obviously a huge difference maker. That team, that Florida Panthers team, they're built for playoffs, man. Watching those guys play, they're big, they're fast, they get to the net every single time they cross the blue line. Pucks and bodies are at the net. They defend very well. They've got good goaltending. They're going to be another team. This is going to be another year where they're competing for the Stanley Cup.
And Matthew Tkachuk, the St. Louis native, obviously being a big part of that, right?
Oh yeah, he's the driving force of that team. Even though Barkov's the captain and you know they've got some good leadership and some veteran guys over there. Like even last year, his first year with the team, you know the impact that he had on the Florida Panthers. Each and every guy talks about it, including the coaching staff. The coaching staff yesterday down at the rink was talking about how you know Matthew came in and immediately became the leader of the group without kicking the doors open and being like, "Hey, I'm here." Just quietly doing his job and working hard and being a great teammate and treating people very well around the rink and everything. He became the guy that the players looked up to and that followed. and how he plays, kind of drove the team last year to whatever success they had, getting all the way to the Stanley Cup final.
Hey, Rebs, you guys had Doug Armstrong on the telecast last night. For fans that maybe didn't see it or didn't hear anything about it, was there anything that stood out in your visit with you and John and Doug that maybe you can relay to fans?
Just that he believes there's one guy in particular, one prospect that he thinks is going to make an impact earlier than anybody thought, and that's Jimmy Snuggerud. And Danny, you know this, and Randy and Brooke, that usually there's a bit of a formula to these players that get drafted. If you're not a top 5 pick, usually you're not going right to the NHL. Usually it's a year or two down the road, and you got a little stint in the minors. You got to figure out the pro game and then work your way up to the NHL and kind of bide your time. But Army feels like Jimmy Snuggerud might be ready for NHL action the moment he signs a contract. Now, time will dictate how that goes, and the player certainly has a lot to do with that. If he comes up here and plays well, then it's time for him to play here. But we'll see. But that surprised me because Army usually doesn't tip his hat like that. Army usually slow plays his hand on purpose, just so people's expectations don't get too high too quickly. But he was pretty blunt about the fact that he thinks Jimmy Snuggerud's going to be here real soon.
Yeah, I was really not taken aback by it. I was excited for Blues fans to hear about a young prospect like that. And I was kind of reading between the lines when they signed Nathan Walker to a 2-year one-way deal, is that then you have clarity for the most part on your fourth line. And if Snuggerud comes up, you know what? He's not going to go fourth to third to second to first. You're talking about a guy being maybe, inserted into a lineup and being a third or second line guy.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think once you establish, what the bottom of your forward group looks like, then you can start to grab these young players and put them in positions to succeed. And that's the one thing that I'll go back even to when I played that always irritated me was goal scorers coming out of junior or college that are putting up big numbers, and then they get called up to the NHL and they're played on a fourth line or they're played 5 or 6 minutes a game. It's like, what are we doing here? Their talents are not on the forecheck. Their talents aren't bashing people's bodies into the wall. Their talents are scoring goals, but you can't do it when you're sitting on the bench. So I like the idea of establishing who your role players are going to be, where they slot in. And then when you got young talent, whether it's Snuggerud or Dvorsky or whoever else comes up the pipeline at Bolduc, they get an opportunity to play in your top 9 and maybe even an opportunity to play on a power play.
Okay, Rivs, I want to change the subject a little bit. My co-hosts here have been all over me this morning because I've been talking about the greatest comebacks of all time. It's comeback player of the year time in the NFL, so people are talking DeMar Hamlin, great comeback. Joe Flacco, great comeback. For people that aren't aware of it, Jamie Rivers, when he was playing in Russia, suffered a ruptured spleen, literally died on the operating table and had to be defibrillated back to life. What was that like? What was it like to die and then be brought back to life?
Well, Randy, it was unique. I'll tell you that much. The story. It's hard to tell the story sometimes because you don't have a lot of time to tell it. And I think as the years go by, I remember smaller details more so than when it happened. But yeah, it was interesting because when I came back to life, I was laying there with. My abdomen was still cut open, and people were like walking around doing things like they had just left me there to be deceased, and they didn't know that I wasn't ready to go yet. And so I remember that and being kind of horrified at why am I laying here with my abdomen cut wide open, and it was a tough road from there because the next time I woke up was in intensive care, and at that point, you're battling. Mm-hmm. He talked about battling through life and battling through things. Like I was battling for my life. It was a horrible experience, to say the least. Because
did you see the white light? We always read about and see in movies the white light. Did you see the white light?
No, I can't say that I did. I joke around sometimes when I have a few cocktails with some people and I'll make up a story that's not true just to get them going a little bit.
It's great for radio.
I'll make up some crazy story that I'm like, man, you have no idea. They are partying on the other side, man. It is awesome.
Well, so first of all, we're glad you're here. We're thrilled that you're here. I think when we talk about comebacks, when you have to battle like that, that must be one of the most proud things that you've done to engage in that physical battle and win it.
Yeah, it was wild, man. It was a physical battle, and then obviously there was a massive mental battle that went along with it, because once I figured out that I was still going to be around, you got to figure out now what you're doing with your life and how things have changed, and there's it was a struggle there for a while. I'm not going to lie, but you figure it out with people, or good people around you. You figure out where the pieces are going to go, and you work hard at trying to reestablish yourself and kind of move on. And everything's still a work in progress, but I'm feeling pretty good about things right now.
And you should, and we're thrilled that you're here. Just one thing in a minute or so.
We're thrilled you're alive, Jamie.
Yeah, but I would imagine that you can really relate to DeMar Hamlin then.
Yeah. Watching these things happen now, like Randy, I was there for the Chris Pronger thing in Detroit, and then I was there for Yuri Fisher collapsing on the bench in Detroit. I was his teammate at the time, and then watching DeMar Hamlin, following my injury, you're very, I don't know, it kind of hits home, and you understand what the athlete is going through, and you understand that the steps that athlete's taking just as a human being, just to get through everyday life, to try and figure out where you're going to be and just the struggles that are there. Yeah, it hits home. It absolutely does. Every time I see anything like that, I'd be lying if I said it didn't jar me a little bit.
Yeah, well, we're thrilled that you're with us. So I guess tomorrow night, end of the day, tomorrow night's game against the Rangers is not necessarily a must-win.
Well, no, it's not a must-win for the Blues, but you really can't lose games in the NHL these days. I mean, gone are the days of, we went through a 4 or 5 game slump and we figured it out. No, you can't do that anymore. Teams just keep winning around you, and if you lose too many, then you're out of the dance. And I think for the Blues, they have to get right back into the win column against the Rangers and pick up points, man, because the Oilers are going, the Kraken are going, Nashville's still hanging around, the Coyotes are hanging around. There's a lot of teams that are in the hunt for those wild card spots.
Absolutely. Jamie, you're my comeback player of every year.
Thanks, Randy. I appreciate that.
All right, brother. Thanks for the time. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
You got it, man. Thank you.
See you later. The great Jamie Rivers with us on 101 ESPN.
I was going to ask him about Verona, but then I felt like there was not a good segue after that whole story of coming back to life. So we'll get it from him later.
And what a battler, because he's in Russia. Can you imagine having the ruptured spleen, and he was in severe pain for several days, and then goes to the doctor in Russia, and that all happened on an operating table there.
I've talked to him a lot of times about his experience there. He was basically living at the rink, and he wasn't sure when he would get paid if he'd actually find his money. So there was people around the club that would take money from these players. So he would try to get everything in cash and stash it. He said it was just crazy. He was basically living in the janitor's room of the rink he was playing at in Russia.
Man.
We need a Jamie Rivers movie.
We need to just bring him in for an hour sometime.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
It'd be great. Coming up next, we've got the fight. Do you need a fighter there, Matthew?
Yes.
Okay, let's text in 314-399-9646. 314-399.
Yo-ho!
Thanks, Dan. That's the Air Comfort Service text line.
No problem.
314-399. Yo-ho!
No.
No, text in your name and the word fight. And
we'll get you one day, Dan.
399-9646. That's all you got to say.
399 yo-ho. Your name and the word fight, maybe Matthew will pick you to fight me next on 101 ESPN. Hey, if you're thinking about selling your home, many home sellers are realizing that a cash offer may be the best solution. However, unlike a local investor or real estate agent that gives you one option, our friend Gloria Liu is St. Louis's real estate expert, and she's going to be able to provide you with multiple cash offers. If you want to sell your home without having to make costly repairs and deal with strangers in your home, you need to get to know Gloria Liu like I have. Her name is her promise and really says it all. Your home sold, guaranteed realty. Gloria has mastered the home selling promise by guaranteeing upfront and in writing to sell your home at your agreed to price and time frame, or she'll buy it herself, and that's guaranteed. Gloria has solutions for every type of home seller. For sellers who want a fast sale with no hassles, Gloria's multiple cash offer program is a great option to consider. No showings, no costly repairs, and you pick the closing date. You always get the highest cash offer to choose from in minutes with Gloria Liu. Her number, 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. That's GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues last night with a tough loss to the the Florida Panthers, 5-1 last night. They face off against the New York Rangers on Thursday evening. It's a 7 p.m. puck drop, means you kept the pregame show right here on 101 ESPN, your home with St. Louis Blues, starting at 6 p.m. Also in action tonight, St. Louis Billikens host St. Joseph's in A-10 play. That's a 6 p.m. tip-off at Chaffetz Arena. That is your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive, Please welcome Randy Carricker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke Grimsley here alongside Randy Carricker, Danny Mac, and Matthew Rocchio. And it is now time for the fight. And we welcome in our fighter and challenger today. Stepping up to the plate, it is Kevin. Kevin, how are you doing this morning?
Morning, Brooke. I'm doing fine.
You ready to take on Randy in the fight today?
Absolutely.
How are you feeling? Confident?
Oh, 100%.
I like this. I like this energy, Danny.
I do too.
Don't
Let's
you
go.
like it?
Let's make
All
it
right.
happen. Let's take down Randy. He's got like 87 in a row or something like that.
We got to put it into this, Kevin.
It's 19.
19 in a row right
19 or
now.
20 right
Okay.
now.
Yeah, I want Randy tested for steroids.
I love that. All right, we'll go ahead and get started with question number 1, Kevin. Who is the Cardinals' all-time home run hitter from the center field spot? Is it Ray Lankford, Jim Edmonds, or Chick Hafey?
Ray Langford.
Final answer?
Yes.
Question 2. All-time coaching wins leader at Illinois, Lou Henson, also leads another D1 school in wins, in addition to taking them to a Final Four. Which school was it? New Mexico State, Indiana, UCLA.
The first one.
New Mexico State. Correct.
Yep.
Okay, final answer.
Which pair of Blues goalies split the Vezina Trophy? Is it Curtis Joseph and Vincent Riendeau, Yaroslav Halak and Brian Elliott, or Glenn Hall and Jacques Plante?
Elliott, the second one.
Okay, and question 4. Speaking of Blues goalies, this Blues goalie shares a unique record of one of only 2 players in league history to be named to 2 different all-rookie teams, doing so across a 3-year stretch. Was it Jordan Bennington, Mike Liut, or Jake Allen?
Jake Allen.
Final answer?
Yes.
All right.
All right, Leo's going to double check the score. Bring in Randy Carricker.
Kevin, what do you do for a living, my man?
I do medical sales.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
Do you get a chance to listen to the show on your way to work or just driving around? What do you got?
I listen from 7 to 4:30 every day.
Oh, man, you're a loyal listener. Have you ever been on the fight before or been in the gauntlet?
I have. I actually beat Randy once on a Rocky screw-up, and I'll take it.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Rock, did you hear that?
Happy I could help.
Hopefully, we're not going to have that happen again. Randy is now here. Randy, say hi to Kevin.
Kevin, good morning. How you doing?
Hey, Randy, I'm fine. Yourself, sir?
Doing great. Thanks for listening. Thanks for playing. We appreciate it.
Did you hear that? He said that he has beaten you before.
Good. Oh,
Due to Rock.
Oh, okay. Well, nothing wrong with that.
So hopefully,
a win is a win.
Hopefully, no controversy this time. All right, you ready to take on Kevin in the fight, Randy?
Ready.
Question number 1. Who is the Cardinals' all-time home run hitter from the center field spot?
I'm going to go with Jimmy Baseball. I'm going to go with Jim Edmonds.
Final answer, Randall?
Yeah, that is my final answer, Dan.
All-time coaching wins leader at Illinois, Lou Henson, Ludu. Also leads another Division I school in wins, in addition to taking them to a Final Four. Which school was it?
Not sure if it was New Mexico or New Mexico. I'm going to go with. He went there. I'm going to go. You know what? I'll do the lifeline just so that I don't mess up.
New Mexico State, Indiana, UCLA.
New Mexico State.
Final answer?
Yes, sir.
Question 3, please.
Which pair of Blues goalies split the Vezina Trophy?
Vezina Trophy. Okay, so not the. There's also the. What's the one that Halak and
Jennings?
The Jennings, yeah. I'm going to go Hall and Plante split the Vezina. Glenn Hall and Jacques Plante split the Vezina.
Final answer?
Yes, sir.
Speaking of Blues goalies, this Blues goalie, shares a record of only 2 players in league history to be named to 2 different all-rookie teams, doing so across a 3-year stretch.
Yeah. I can't believe there's 2 of those. But Jake Allen did it. I thought he would be the only one. But he was all-rookie twice. Pretty amazing.
He was.
All right.
And one of my favorite all-time guys.
I guess I should have given away the answer already.
Yeah, Jake Allen.
But you had already said the answer, to be fair.
All right, so Randy
Okay.
has won, but is that enough to take down Kevin in this game? Ring that bell.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
Just win, baby.
I'm sorry, Kevin. Not only did he get that last one right, he got all 4 right. Randy Carricker hits the jack, and he beat you 4-2 today.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you for playing.
Kevin.
No backdoor assists from me on this one. So let's go through the questions and answers. The Cardinals' all-time home run leader from the center field spot. It is, in fact, Jim Edmonds. He's 4th all-time in Cardinals history, and he didn't really hit many of them in any other spot from center field, so there's a pretty good guess there. All-time coaching wins leader at Illinois, Lou Henson, also leads New Mexico State in wins and did take them to the 1970 Final Four. Which pair of Blues goalies split the Vezina? This was, of course, before the Jennings Trophy became a thing. They used to split a lot of Vezinas back then, and that was Glenn Hall and Jacques Plante. You have a lot of Jennings Trophy wins from a couple pairs of Blues goalies, but only the one Vezina Trophy win. And speaking of Blues goalies, this Blues goalie shares a record of one of only 2 players in league history to be named to 2 different all-rookie teams. It is, in fact, Jake Allen. The other one is Jamie Storr, who was named to the 1997, 98, and 98-99 one. But again, if you want to get really technical, Allen is the only one to do it across 3 years, because Allen goes in after playing just 15 games in 11-12, doesn't play at all in 12-13, and then come back and goes again the very next year.
Danny, you remember Jamie Storr's claim to fame?
Which was?
Getting run by Jeff Cardinal in the playoffs.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The Blues came back from 3 down.
That's a bad
It was 5 goals, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they got a 5-minute power play, remember, because they mauled Cardinal after he ran their goalie.
Well, I guess it was poetic justice, because not for Jamie Storr or the Kings, but, you think about Grand Fuhrer, what happened in 96, he got mauled, and then all of a sudden the rest is history, and John Casey lets a shot go over his shoulder from Steve Yzerman, and
pretty good shot.
Yeah, it was hell of a shot.
Kevin, thank you so much for joining the fight and joining the show today.
Thanks, guys. Have a great hump day.
You too.
You too.
You
Thank
too.
you. By the way, I'm watching it now. Just go to YouTube. If you're watching us right now,
Wasn't
you
it
have
a
to come back.
5-goal period? In that, it was 5 goals. I remember that.
I think so, yeah. And Cardinal was just fabulous.
Yes.
It's
I'm
one
gonna
thing
look
that
this up on
hockey
the
misses
YouTube.
now is running goalies. We need to have more of that.
You want that? You want fights, arguments in baseball? I'm in.
No, we
Oh.
don't. So Mike Shannon
Yes.
always thought that the way that the baseball fight should be is that if you charge the mound, it's the pitcher versus the hitter, and anybody else who else gets involved, like a hockey fight, gets thrown out.
Yeah.
And maybe even suspended. Just let the pitcher and the hitter fight. And then the referee can
Aren't
step in
their
when they get
arms
tired.
and hands a little important?
Well, if you want to do it, do it. But just, you don't need a benches clearing brawl.
It's the one thing I miss with replay now in baseball. You just don't have a good old-fashioned argument.
No, you don't.
I want to see the play get right. I want the call right, but I like seeing a good old-fashioned argument where the manager comes out, they're face-to-face, guys are screaming at each other. It's fun.
Oh, I love that.
great.
Yeah. I like the benches clearing brawl, because then you have that video that we absolutely love of Giovanni Gallegos jumping
right.
out of the
Jumping over the
bullpen.
wall, yeah.
Yep. And it made us hate and will cause us to hate Johnny Cueto forever.
Oh, yeah, with the situation in Cincinnati.
Yeah. And you don't want to fight Chris Carpenter. That's
No,
what
you don't.
Baseball misses.
My favorite part, though, of the brawl in Cincinnati is their massive humanity, and then at the very end of the fight, I say the end, towards the end, crawling through somebody's legs is Jeff Suppan.
Yeah, right.
On all fours, just crawling through like a kid that's going through a tunnel.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
man.
great. It was fun.
Coming up here on 101 ESPN, Robbie, Tommy. Blues center Robert Thomas with us next on 101 ESPN. I want to tell you about my buddy Jim Olive and the folks at AutoLoanPro.com. And if you're in the market for a new vehicle, I want you to go to AutoLoanPro.com and download their playbook for success. It really does make purchasing a vehicle easy and lets you know about how much money you can save if you use AutoLoanPro.com. And if you've had a problem with your financing in the past, if you've had a problem with your credit score, Auto Loan Pro can help you out with little to no money down, and they're going to work hard to make sure that you get the best rate possible. And if you're shopping for a vehicle, you can get a vehicle from Auto Loan Pro, or you can just get your financing wherever you're going to get your vehicle. The Auto Loan Pro is working with over 50 lenders to help you get the very best financing available for you, and they know that making a big purchase can be complicated, so they're going to help you out. The Auto Loan Pro is going to help you get back on track if you have a problem with your financial situation. If you're financing a car, there's one thing to know. Choose the Auto Loan Pro at AutoLoanPro.com.
Inside the Blues locker room.
What a goal by Robert Thomas!
It's time now for Blues forward Robert Thomas on the opening drive.
Driven by Pure Performance, the only stop for all your aftermarket vehicle needs.
Your chance to score a pair of tickets to Billy Joel and Sting, one night only on Friday, September 27th at Busch Stadium. Blues center Robert Thomas, the All-Star, joins us here on the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Brooke Grimsley, Dan McLaughlin, Randy Carricker. Robert, good morning. How you doing?
Morning, guys. No singing today?
You know what? We've got some things stored up for you. We're going to give you a great song. But my first question is, you heard that we're promoting Billy Joel and Sting later on. Robert Thomas, I'm going to give you two great tickets to one concert. Any concert. Who's it going to be? Who's your band or artist?
I would go with Post Malone.
Great call. Really good call. I like
Post
that.
Malone. Okay.
So,
and who would be the teammate you would take with you?
I'm going to go with Scott Perunovich.
Really?
Good. I like it.
There you go.
Next week, we're going to start off. We're going to get a Post Malone song, and that's how we're going to introduce you next week.
No, please, no. Please. I already got enough flag for my singing or lack thereof. Not good at that whatsoever. Well, Robert, I want to ask you about last night. I watched the YouTube show that you guys had with Andy Strickland and Matthew Tkachuk, and it was just so nice to hear those stories reminiscing about how much the Tkachuk family just really helped you get to this point. What can you say about Matthew Tkachuk and his family and everything that they have done for you?
Yeah, I mean, they've always gone above and beyond for me, taking me in like one of their own. And obviously, I'm new to the whole pro sports world, but and it wasn't in my family, but they really just, Big Walt just showed me the right way to do things, and especially in the locker room and how you take care of everyone around you. And just those little things are so important and make all the difference.
Have you been around a guy in Big Walt that's as generous as he is? Whether current player, former player, just any walk of life, the guy is as generous as anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen many people like him, and he's really loved for it, and that's just his personality.
And you, as Brooke mentioned, you had the chance to do the show with Matthew last night. And when Matthew was still a member of the Flames and we didn't know where he was going to wind up, he said one of the things that really excited him was the ability at some point in his career to play with you. How much time have you guys spent on the ice together? And did your games, it seems like just watching both of you play, that your games would mesh really well. Is that the case?
Yeah. I've got a chance to play with them obviously in London, and we skate together in the summer all the time and stuff like that. So, that was a pretty nice thing for him to say, and a nice thought of mine that, it might happen one day, and obviously not for quite a while.
Right.
But yeah, no, it was cool. I think Andy did a great job, and there's some videos from our London days that we were watching and brought back some good memories. It was pretty funny.
I know that I asked you last week, Robert, about if you had reached out to any of the 7 Blues prospects that we saw in the World Juniors, but I know that you hadn't talked to them yet. If there was any advice, though, that you would give them as they prepare for the next step and eventually, hopefully, coming up here with the Blues, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I would say just enjoy your time. I think, when you're kind of getting towards the end of your junior or college career, you're kind of looking forward, and you're getting nervous about preparing for what's next. But those kind of days are truly your best days. Just look at the way we were talking about, our junior days. Those are some great memories and some great friends, and just be present in the moment and enjoy it. And we can't wait to see you in St. Louis.
What about Team USA? Obviously winning gold. Did you get to catch any of Jimmy Snuggerud during that run?
Yeah, I've always been a big World Junior guy, so I watch most of the games when I can if we're not playing. So I was able to catch a lot of Sweden, USA, Canada, obviously. So the guys are looking pretty good.
When you prepare for an All-Star game, and congratulations once again, you're headed to the All-Star game, what does the league do in terms of allotment for tickets, those kind of things? Like, do you get a certain amount of tickets, and then if you want to pay for a bunch, you do, or you're only allowed a certain amount? How does that work out?
Yeah, you get a couple. I'm not sure the exact amount yet, but you get a decent amount, and then you gotta buy the rest. Especially being in Toronto, I got a lot of family and friends, so I haven't really fully dug into it, but it might be an expensive one.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I think you can afford it, though, to be quite honest with you. So I'm just going to say that. But are you going to have somebody in your family take care of that so you don't have to worry about it, or do you want to deal with that on your own?
Bit of both. I pretty much just said, give me a number and then cut it in half.
That's a smart move.
But we'll see. I actually got to call my parents today and get it all figured out. So.
Robert Thomas is with us on 101 ESPN. Robert, we talked last week about your defense. You're an all-star. You're averaging more than a point a game. But every great player is striving to get better. Is there anything you're working on right now when you practice where you say, okay, this is one aspect of my game where I want to get better?
A couple things. I think E-zone I still need to get better at. I think I'm a little bit slow. Just being in the middle and kind of jumping second quick. I think that's one area that I'd like to get better at. As well, offensively, I think just down low below the goal line, I think I'm missing a couple plays that I see, and sometimes I don't even see them at all. And need to get better at positioning my body just so I can see the whole ice.
How much, especially on the defensive end, does video help you?
I think a lot. I think it just creates a different mindset and gets you thinking a little differently. I've always loved watching hockey. Anytime we're not playing, I'm watching. Even if there's afternoon games and we play at night, I'm watching hockey, and it's something I love to do. So I think watching your own videos, get to critique yourself, but I think watching other people and really helps you a lot as well.
Okay, so we mentioned Big Walt earlier, and when you were just coming up, when I would ask Big Walt, okay, who do you compare Robert Thomas to? Who's he going to be? And I know you know the answer to this. He said he's going to be Patrice Bergeron. So who do you watch defensively? Bergeron would seem like the hallmark, but who do you watch defensively that you'd like to emulate your defensive game after?
Yeah, I think there's a couple guys. I think first and foremost, Barkov, who we watched last night. Obviously you tend to watch your friends a lot, and just from watching a lot of Florida games, I've been able to see him play, and I think he's the next Bergeron. He's the guy that everyone who's trying to emulate that game should watch. He does everything right, and he's got a great stick, and he's hard to play against. So I would say he's the guy I'm watching.
Robert, it is great to hear your voice. By the way, the Bruins in town. You beat the Bruins in the Stanley Cup. Do you still get, or that's Saturday, tomorrow's the Rangers, but when you play the Bruins on Saturday, do you still get a charge out of playing them because of what happened in 2019?
I would say, yeah, it's fading a little bit just because of the dynamic of both teams has changed so much since then, but always still a good rivalry, and obviously Monty's coaching over there, so that kind of ignites it again a little bit.
Go get them against the Rangers tomorrow, and then the Bruins, and then the Flyers, and the rest of this homestand. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week with a song.
I can't wait to hear it.
Man, take care. Blues center Robert Thomas, the All-Star. Last week, Dan, I don't know if you realized, but Brooke and I started with...
I know he's an All-Star.
Yeah, well, Brooke,
okay.
1, 2, 3. Hey now, you're an All-Star. Get your game on. Go play.
Hey now. We don't know the rest of it.
I did not hear that.
And he said we sounded just like Smash Mouth. He couldn't tell the difference.
He couldn't. He truly couldn't, Dan.
I don't know if we should continue that trend, to be quite honest, after hearing that version.
And
we got to work on Post Malone.
I just have to get you guys to be like, what can I say except congratulations? Like, you just got to get that line down on beat, and then we'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's the on beat part that I think might be the
I'm
issue.
worried about that. I'm very worried about
rhythm
that.
in this room might be lacking a tad bit.
What Post Malone song would I know? I know him. I don't know the names.
Didn't he have a lot of tattoos?
He does.
Face tats. Yeah,
that's what I mean. Face tats.
He's got. Do you remember? What was that defensive lineman's name? Matthew, the defensive lineman up for the Rams with the face tats. Wound up with the Raiders. But anyway, Rams defensive lineman that had face tats, and somebody asked him in an interview why he had face tats. He said, "Dude, I want to play in the NFL, and I don't want to plan B." He didn't want to plan B, so he didn't want to be able to go into interviews with the face tats. And
wow.
That was his thought. And he wound up having, Ethan Westbrooks, wound up having a pretty good NFL career.
Does your wife say anything about your tattoo now?
Never.
The whole family's over it.
No, they aren't over it. They just never say anything about it.
Yeah, you don't let them say anything about it.
No,
they don't bring it up. But
It doesn't come up. Nobody ever sees it. It's on my back shoulder. Nobody ever sees it.
Okay. I'm just checking, just to see. Like, you could be out swimming or something, and the kid's like, oh, that's my dad. He's got the Stanley Cup tattoo.
Did I ever tell you one time down in spring training, down in Jupiter, I'm walking on the beach, and somebody yells, "Let's go Blues!" And I'm thinking, because I had the tattoo, but I forget about it. I don't know. Oh, well, interesting.
You're like, okay.
Boy, they really know me.
I waved. Yeah, let's go Blues. And then I said, how do you know that I'm a Blues fan? He said, you got a tattoo, man.
Oh, yeah, that thing. Yeah. That thing on my back.
You want to hear one little bit of Post Malone that I think you might actually know?
Yeah, let's do it.
This is a little bit.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, we'll do that next week.
That's our homework for the weekend.
Yeah, we'll have to.
You just got to get congratulations on the beat.
Congratulations.
There it is.
Yes.
Thank you, Randy.
Yes.
I have been on stage with Murphy Lee. Can I do Post Malone? Absolutely.
That's no big deal for you.
No. Walk in the park.
Yeah. What the hook gonna be? Coming up, Rush Hour Reset on 101 ESPN. Hey, if you're going to have a big playoff party this weekend, I want you to head to Schnucks and download the Schnucks Rewards app before you go. But another thing you need to know about Schnucks is that the St. Louis Food and Wine presented by Schnucks is back February 2nd and 3rd at Union Station. It features hundreds of wines, a selection of craft beers, and culinary delights around every corner. It's a can't-miss event of the year. The event presented by Schnucks to benefit the rep in St. Louis and Operation Food Search. You must be 21 or older to attend. But for more information, just go to schnucks.com/STL Food Wine to get your tickets. A little bit more about the events on the 2nd of February. It's the grand tasting event from 7 to 10 p.m., and you can spend the evening sampling vintages from prominent domestic and international vintners and feasting on gourmet food. Then on Saturday, the 3rd, between noon and 5, it's the main tasting event. Enjoy a full day of sampling hundreds of wines and a variety of gourmet food offerings. Experience wine tastings from the world's premier growing regions, and again, a commemorative wine glass is included. It's Friday, February 2nd, Saturday, February 3rd at Union Station. St. Louis Food and Wine presented by Schnucks. The website for more information, Schnucks.com/STL Food Wine.
Stories of the day on the opening drive with a Rush Hour Reset.
It is 9:05 in St. Louis. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley, Dan McLaughlin, Randy Carricker, and it's time for the Rush Hour Reset. Blues suffer a 5-1 loss to Florida last night at Enterprise Center. Panthers win their 8th in a row on the strength of a Matthew Tkachuk natural hat trick in the 3rd period. So the Blues drop a little bit further in the standings, and they'll welcome the 2 top teams in the NHL to town over their next 2 games. Tomorrow night it's the Rangers, and then Saturday it's the Boston Bruins. So the Blues will have their hands full as they try to hang in this playoff race, and they need to do it for at least 3 more games before things settle down in terms of the schedule.
And the power play just continuing to go back to that. That is the biggest issue. When you go 0 for 4 in a game, but then also, Dan, you pointed this out too, and this is a very startling stat when you see it. They are 12 for 113 this season on the power play.
Wow. That's 11%.
And
it's actually shy of 11%.
Yeah, worse. They are officially now worse in the league with their power play percentage.
Sam Reinhart had a power play goal last night for the Panthers. He's got 14. The Blues as a team have 12. That is hard to imagine. The Panthers now, as you mentioned, Randy, 8 straight wins. And Matthew Tkachuk, the story last night down at Enterprise, he's now got points in 6 straight games, goals in 4 straight, 10 points in his last 3. 10 in his last 3. He is so much fun to watch, man. He was awesome last night.
He was. His energy,
yes,
everything that he brings.
As Jamie Rivers mentioned, you just can't lose games. Yesterday, the Blues were a point out of the final wild card spot. Now they're 2 points out of that final wild card spot, but between the Blues and the final wild card are Seattle and Arizona, and the Blues are tied with Calgary now. So they can't afford to be losing games because somebody's going to be winning games as they go through this whole process.
What do you do, by the way, with Jacob Vrana in the next game coming up? So he had the giveaway that made it 3-1. He was -3 on the night. Kevin Hayes was -3 on the night last night. I don't know, man. I mean, they've given him this chance to get back out there and show what he can do, and just last night was a bad giveaway. And when you do that, it costs you a game. It's tough to find ice time.
How much longer do you bother? Right? They've already sent him down and brought him back. So I wonder how much more of a leash he has. We're halfway through the season now. We'll be halfway through the season on Saturday night, and it doesn't look like it's happening. And if it doesn't happen through 41 games of the season, when's it going to happen? So if I'm the general manager, if I'm the coach, I'm going to ask that question of each other. Okay, is it going to happen for this guy? And if not, what's the point of having him here?
Yeah. I think at this point they've given him enough chances. And last night, that was a crucial mistake that he made there. And it was the same mistake that you had seen prior that got him sent down in the first place. So when you're sitting somebody down, you're hoping that they learn their lessons, they're able to grow, and when they come back, you won't see those same mistakes over and over again. But you saw that with Verana once again.
There's a couple of bright spots I did take away from the game last night, and that was Shen, team high 6 shots on goal, scored a goal, 10 of 16 faceoffs won. So I think you look at that and say, okay, maybe he gets a little jump start from his goal the other night. And then obviously what happened last night. Colton Parayko, by the way, tied Bob Plager, third most games played by a Blues defenseman last night.
Isn't that great?
He's been here that long that he's third most in games played by a Blues defenseman. And he's playing very well.
Jackman and Petro, 1-2, right?
I believe so, yeah.
It's been enjoyable to watch him this season. This is what I feel like we're experiencing, a fully healthy season with Parayko. Yeah. What you've seen in the past few seasons, he's been dealing with injuries, recovering from that, and now we are enjoying a healthy Colton Parayko this season.
The Cubs have signed a starting pitcher. Shota Imanaga comes over from the Japanese league. He is entering his age 30 season. He's been really solid. He's had good production in Japan. Doesn't have overpowering stuff, but will be, I'm sure, serviceable for Chicago.
Yeah, and right now they have 4 locks in their rotation. They got Justin Steele, Jamison Taillon, Kyle Hendricks, and now the signing of this lefty. He must officially sign by 4 p.m. tomorrow. There's a posting with that. The Cubs went through 9 different starters last year. They have potentials like Javier Assad, Drew Smiley, Jordan Wicks is another one. But this guy had 11 strikeouts per 9. He's only 30, 2.66 ERA and 30 starts last season in Japan. So while you wait and say, okay, the Cardinals need to tinker and need to do this and need to do that, you look at some of the teams in the Central and they're looking at the same thing. I mean, the Cubs do not have a full rotation yet. They've got options, but just like the Cardinals bullpen, there are options there, and you think that there are some that are definites in there for sure, but every team is dealing with this right now in what has been a really slow, and I mean slow, moving market in Major League Baseball.
Cubs need to get a bat, too. They need to replace Cody Bellinger.
They do, yes. And, by the way, Marcus Stroman, some of the reports coming out this morning that strong consideration between him and the Yankees, it looks like that's going to happen. But we've been waiting for the Cubs to be making a move. You make that bold move of getting Craig Counsell, and then it was nothing. I think that a factor, and we've discussed this a lot at length, but you have everything that's going on with Bally's and that deal, which has led to some uncertainty. And Dan, I want to get your perspective on this because we talked about it to Greg last week, Greg Amsinger. How much does Scott Boras factor in this too, considering that a lot of these free agents are represented by him?
I think he's going to get the absolute last penny for his client. I mean, Jordan Montgomery is a great example. That's his client. And, Montgomery went into last season and said, I'll negotiate till spring. And if he hits a time where a player is in their final year, you can pretty much bet on the fact that they're going to play out the final year and they're going to hit free agency. And I do think he's a factor because he controls the big players in the marketplace. And so there's more attention towards what he's doing or not doing because he's got Jordan Montgomery and he's got, as you mentioned, some of the biggest names that are out there. And so the focus goes squarely on him.
And one of the problems that baseball has in regards to popularity is that unlike the leagues, every other league that has a cap, Scott Boras can go to the end and nobody has to worry about how much cap money is left. Right? He doesn't have to worry about that, and he gets it. It's amazing how with the Harper deal, he gets it right before spring training. People still he finds money under seat cushions.
And he's got the biggest names.
Yeah,
he's got the biggest fish in the sport, so
you have to play ball with him.
He leverages it all the way to as Randy said, all the way to the end.
Oh, by the way, the Cardinals will play the first ESPN Sunday night game of the 2024 campaign against Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers.
It's a pretty good lineup. Yeah. Pretty good lineup that they got.
Maybe the best ever.
Ooh, I don't know about that. I'd have to take a look, though. That's a good question.
At least their top 5 when you think about Does Ohtani lead off? No,
He'll bat second. I got Ohtani hitting second.
Freeman?
Yes.
And then do you hit Will Smith fourth?
I had Smith fifth. I put Muncy fourth, I think.
Okay.
I'm trying to think how I did that. I actually wrote it out the other day, but I had Ohtani second. I had Betts leading off. I had Freddie Freeman hitting third. So, Sonny Gray, go get him on that Sunday night in that first inning.
Yeah.
It's going to be...
Have you looked at what their rotation's going to look like?
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty good.
Not just this year, but next year when they add Ohtani.
And they get Ohtani. And Bueller, you would think, will be back next year.
Yes.
Gonsolin will be back next year. Yesterday, I don't know what's going to happen. They've kind of scrubbed Julio Urias, but he was determined to have not committed a felony yesterday by the officials, the authorities in L.A. He's still on administrative leave by Major League Baseball, but I would think that now that this has been knocked down to a misdemeanor,
so that
he'll
could
have
get
an
worked out.
opportunity to come back.
Yes. There's no reason to think that wouldn't happen, and so you could add him, one of the best lefties in the game,
so
to that rotation.
So 2025, let's Ohtani pitches your opener.
Yeah.
Then Yamamoto, and then Bueller, and then Glasnow.
Yeah.
That could really happen.
Pretty good.
That's
and then Gonsolin.
Yeah.
So the all-time...
Barring injuries.
Oh, and Bobby Miller.
Of course.
What was the all-time record in wins? Was the Mariners in 01, right?
Yeah, 116.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I think, doable.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Amazing. There's your Rush Hour Reset here on 101 ESPN. Next up, the NHL struggles with popularity, but our Brooke Grimsley has some ideas for the NHL to enhance their popularity and their TV ratings. That's next on 101 ESPN. We are going to have some precipitation in the region over the next couple of days, and if you drive into your driveway and you see water coming over the middle of your gutters, you need to get in touch with my friends at gutterpros.com, because at Gutter Pros, water goes where we tell it. That's exactly it. That's the key, because your water is supposed to go down the downspout and come down the middle. And a lot of people have problems with gutters being clogged up with leaves, or maybe they're just bent and messed up. Maybe a tree fell on it or something like that. At Gutter Pros, not only will they provide you the best ideas for new gutters for your home, but they do leaf protection, they do soffit, they do fascia, they'll even do siding. And they cover an area about 50 miles from their downtown office, and they'll provide you a free estimate. They are from St. Louis, so they know the area well, and they're low pressure. That's the great thing about gutterpros.com. They'll come out, tell you what they think that you need, give you some options, and then they are going to say, let me call my boss, and you can get a great deal if you buy today. They're going to give you a price, and that price is going to be the price at gutterpros.com. Make an appointment today with this A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau company. If you need new gutters, it's gutterpros.com. Over the years, the National Hockey League has struggled to gain traction from a popularity standpoint across the country. We've all noticed this, and Brooke has some ideas as to how they can gain some popularity, but also they've got things going on off the ice that other sports have that people are paying attention to.
They do. So I'm going to start this off by saying that it's the whole Cutter Gauthier situation that really grabbed my attention. And if you haven't paid attention to the story of what's going on with 19-year-old Cutter Gauthier versus the entire Flyers organization, you are missing out on a lot of controversy. If you missed this the other day, the Flyers trade away their number 2 prospect in Cutter Gauthier, their leading scorer in the World Junior Championships, to the Anaheim Ducks. And a lot of people were wondering why. Well, Cutter Gauthier did not want to be with the Flyers anymore. Elliot Friedman even reporting that he wouldn't meet with the Flyers organization during the World Juniors. And this caused a lot of controversy, and also a lot of people, including a local Philly writer and podcaster Anthony Sanfilippo, to accuse a current Blue and former Flyer, Kevin Hayes, of being involved in possibly getting Cutter Gauthier to not want to be with the Flyers anymore. Which is wild, because to just go ahead and put that out there in this whole situation, you know how angry Flyers fans are right now. We know how Philly fans are, right? In general, you know how angry they are. And for this podcaster just put that out there without concrete evidence that Kevin Hayes is involved, it's caused a lot of controversy. But it's been a big talker on social media. And then you have the press conference with John Tortorella, where he was asked about Cutter Gauthier, and he had this to say. This has been such a crazy story. In the midst of everything that is going on with the NFL getting ready for the playoffs, you obviously just had the college football championship just play out. And the NHL actually, because of this coverage, has gotten a lot of attention. So my question to you guys is all press good press or bad press? Is it a bad thing or a good thing in this situation? Because it does bring a lot of attention to a situation that is absolutely crazy when you take a deeper dive into it. But then people are talking about the NHL.
That's the key. And what the NHL needs, first of all, not all press is good press, but press like this is. The NHL would be much better off if, let me pick a random player here, if it was Brad Marchand, okay, saying that he didn't want to play for the Bruins anymore, and that Don Maloney, their general manager, was a liar and he was never going to play for him again, just like James Harden did. You need a star to do that kind of thing, and that gets people buzzing. It does. Well,
so do villains. Villains make people buzz. Social media makes people buzz. And it's now a social media world. And I would say that your younger folks typically are on social media. And so they're going to get after it. And when things like this hit, it's viral. And so at least, though, and I agree with Randy, if your stars are involved with this, then it's a little bit different. I think if you asked the casual sports fan, who is this kid that we're talking about with the Flyers, I would imagine they would say, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
So at least you get some press out of that. And how it winds up in St. Louis, I'm still trying to figure that out. The Kevin Hayes connection,
it's
I don't understand it.
By the way, it's Don Sweeney. I said Don Maloney. Don Sweeney is the GM of the Bruins. That Brad Marchand needs to say that he will never play for again.
So then it's social media that plays into how Kevin Hayes got involved with this, and why Anthony Sanfilippo decided to accuse him of this is because another video was brought up while Flyers fans are trying to dig and figure out why exactly Cutter Gauthier wouldn't want to play for the Flyers. Flyers, a video resurfaced of where Cutter was doing an interview, I believe it was last season, where he was talking about somebody he keeps in touch with in the Flyers organization, and he mentioned Kevin Hayes. So I think that's what led to all of this. Now, when you're talking about good press, bad press, it also brings out a lot of bad people, which led to Kevin Hayes having to respond to this yesterday. And I'm going to paraphrase this because he had a lot of emotions in this quote, guys, where he said some words that we can't repeat here. But in short, he said, and these quotes are in Jeremy Rutherford's article in The Athletic, he said, "I think it's completely insane that this guy," he's talking about Sanfilippo, "can say something like that. Not a single aspect of what I've done had any implications on this kid's decision." He also went on to say that now some fans, I'm not going to say all fans, have gone out and threatened him, his family, and even brought up the passing of his brother.
Oof. Which is terrible.
Yeah.
And by the way, apparently this Sanfilippo guy legitimately did have somebody in the Flyers organization said something. He didn't just come up with this. So somebody told him something within the Flyers organization, maybe an axe to grind with Kevin Hayes. I don't know why, but to me, you have to double source that. You have to go to whether it's Keith Jones, who understands media. He was in media for a long time. He's their president of hockey operations. Or go to Briere and find out, okay, do you guys think that Kevin Hayes had something to do with this? Because you do put Kevin Hayes under unnecessary stress when you say something like that.
This is why athletes, celebrities, whomever are guarded. This is why you're guarded, and I don't blame them. Something gets taken out of context or you get lumped into a situation that you have no idea why you're lumped into it. It all of a sudden, it's going viral and you're sitting there having to answer questions the next day and say, I have no idea what this is about.
Well, not only that, Dan, but look at the selection, the non-selection of Florida State. People on the college football playoff committee got death threats and threats to their family. The kid from East St. Louis that played for Ohio State, messed up in the NCAA basketball tournament, got death threats when he had a bad game, a 19-year-old in the NCAA tournament. People have no qualms about threatening a life, and the people that receive threats like that, they kind of take it seriously.
Yeah,
you never know.
Yeah.
If I'm Robert Thomas and I come on this show, I'm guarded. I mean, even though we all know him and he's comfortable with us, I think in private settings for sure. I've been with Robert on the golf course and whatnot, and he's great. But I don't. Well, first of all, we don't ask him hard-hitting questions. Let's be honest. I mean, it's just more about personality and what the Blues are doing and that kind of thing.
I'm trying to hold him accountable, Dan.
You do a hell of a job with that, Randy, talking about Post Malone. Yeah. But, I think you have to be quite, you got to be careful. In this day and age, you just have to be careful. And we want to know more about our athletes, but our athletes are saying, no problem, I'd like to do that for you, but I don't need to get destroyed on social media when I have an opinion or I have a stance on certain things, or I'm brought into something I have no idea what this thing's about.
Exactly, because then even just one little blurb can be taken out of context, and people will just only pay attention to that one little post on social media and not look at the full context of anything.
So this being the case, is this something that can help the NHL become more popular?
So this is the thing, is that I don't like the aspect of it, because with more popularity and with more notoriety, then you do have things like that happen with Kevin Hayes, obviously, where you have people lashing out at him. But here's the other part, is that once again, it's something that brings a lot of attention to the NHL. Whether you like spitting chicklets or not, they've done a great job, I think, of bringing more of that personality out. Because you guys know, covering the Blues and being around NHL players, they do have great personalities. I think the NHL is a great product. It's a lot of fun to watch. And the way that they're also able to chirp each other, too, I think is something that is a great product to watch and pay attention to.
I agree with you. I just think that it needs to be out there more. The personalities of which you speak, the NHL needs to find a better way to get them out there. And being on TNT, having the group of people that they have on TNT trying to emulate NBA Tonight is a great way to go.
Yeah, with Ernie and Charles and Shaq.
And
those guys are great.
Yeah,
it's great. This is also why, though, I think if you're an athlete, you control your own social media. So instead of having Susie Q, Joe Blow come and interview me, I'm going to have my own thing, and I'm going to put it out there the way I want.
Exactly.
This is in my words. This is what I say. This is how I feel. And I control my own social media, and that media gets displayed everywhere, and that's the way I go. That's the way I do it.
And you control your own narrative.
That's the whole point. Yes.
Coming up here on 101 ESPN, we talked earlier about the necessity of having left-handed hitting in the postseason. So, with that thought, do the Cardinals even think about trading Nolan Gorman? That's next on 101 ESPN. So you're 45, 46 years old and used to go play pickup basketball, and now you're just worn out. Well, guys, you can compete at things like sports and work like you did years ago. Life is a competition, and you can get back into that game, and don't let age be an excuse to settle for second best when you go to Mentality at lowtusa.com. Mentality is going to restore your testosterone level. Your testosterone level decreases as you get older. It's a fact of life. And when your testosterone level decreases, so does your energy level. And that's where Mentality comes in, because they're going to, when you make an appointment at Mentality, they're going to find out where your testosterone level is, and then they've got an FDA-approved testosterone treatment to get your testosterone level back to where it was in your 20s. And your energy will be restored. You won't be nearly as fatigued as you have been. You'll be able to coach your kids. You'll be able to play some of that basketball. You'll be able to get through workouts, and it'll make a huge difference for you. And at Mentality, they're going to work with your insurance company to make sure you pay as little out-of-pocket expense as possible. I'm headed over there today. They have clinics in Chesterfield and South County. Get started now at lowtusa.com.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Last night, the Blues fall to the Florida Panthers 5-1. They'll try to get back on the winning side on Thursday evening as they host the New York Rangers. It'll be a 7 p.m. puck drop. We need a 6 p.m. pregame show right here on your home for the St. Louis Blues, 101 ESPN. And if you want to hear more Blues talk, you can go to our Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers podcast later on this afternoon. You can catch Randy, Danny, and Brooke talking it over with Jamie Rivers and St. Louis Blues center Robert Thomas. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
When you go from the regular season to the playoffs, you know, the type of relievers that teams throw at you in October just absolutely neutralize your right-handed bats. Like the average OPS during a season compared to the average OPS for right-handed bats in October, it drops significantly. But left-handed bats stay the same.
That's Derek Gould of STLtoday.com and the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. We talked about this earlier, about the Cardinals having left-handed bats, but the most notable power bat that they have from the left side is Nolan Gorman. Even if it was for a number one starting pitcher, an ace starting pitcher, do you have it in you to trade Nolan Gorman for that player, or is he so important as an offensive performer that you feel like you can't win without Nolan Gorman?
That's the tough question, right? I just can't see the Cardinals wanting to part with a left-handed power bat. And we were talking about this. How many homegrown sluggers do you have available? That's something that is really hard to develop and have in your organization. And who is the last person to have been that for the Cardinals?
We were talking about that earlier. I can't remember one that comes to mind. I can tell you this, not a chance am I trading Nolan Gorman for a starting pitcher, considering that going into the World Series last year, I think there were 7 games in which a starter went 7 or more innings. So your bullpen is something that I'm looking more at, even more so than the starters, even though I realized what they needed to do, which was go get innings. But back to Nolan Gorman, you just don't find guys, left-handed batters, that are going to pop you 30 home runs. That's expensive. I mean, would it cost you a number one pitcher? Yeah, it might cost you even more than that with the way the going rate is for these kids. And he's only 23. Mm-hmm. My concern with him right now is that he's 23 years old. He's had to miss time with his back. And if you have issues with your back at 23, what does that mean? What does it look like when you're 27 or 28? I'm not a doctor, but it doesn't make a lot of sense that it wouldn't get a little bit deteriorate, at least a little bit, if you're having issues at 23. And you're only going to get older. You're going to take more swings. You're going to get hitting for power. You know, all those things. Bottom line is, though, those guys aren't falling off trees. I ain't trading him. He's in the middle of my lineup. Here's the other thing I'd do. I'd play him every day. I'd let him hit against lefties until he shows me this year he can't. Then I sit him.
Mm-hmm. What about defensively? Do you have any concerns there? You're talking about playing him every day, but we saw last season it seems like they felt more comfortable with him at the DH position at times.
I DH him every day.
Okay.
Yeah, so if I was going to put him anywhere, it'd be second base, and I may be in the minority with this. I think he plays a fine second base. Mm-hmm. I think he's fine. I don't think he's going to hurt you. Is he going to be spectacular? No. Is he going to be fine? Yeah.
But and it's the back issues of giving him more of that break?
I don't know. I would think swinging the bat would probably be the thing that would hurt him a little bit. Maybe getting off his feet would be something that I don't know. I mean, I couldn't tell you.
One of the things the Cardinals also have to keep in mind, and they might be completely different hitters, but the one thing that Chase Davis, their first-round draft pick from last year, is known for is his raw power. He's a 55 power guy, according to the scouts, and he might be a guy that you fast-track. He was a college player, and he might be here by 25. And Victor Scott's definitely going to be here by 25, playing in the outfield, and you probably, well, depends. If you sign Paul Goldschmidt to an extension, you aren't moving Jordan Walker over to first. So at some point, the Cardinals are going to have to make a move again because of their wealth of bats and outfielders.
The move would be if Victor Scott is, this is just me thinking out loud, if Victor Scott is going to be here, then what do you do with Tommy Edman? And Tommy Edmonds going to start hitting big money pretty soon, and then free agency. And then, you still have Lars Nootbaar under control for a long time. You got Jordan Walker, you would assume, under contract for a long time. That's when it gets started. You start thinking outside the box and what we need to do, and you don't look at just this year, but you always look at year 2, year 3, year 4 down the road. I can tell you this: the Cardinals love Brendan Donovan, and they should. And he's going to play, in my opinion, every day at second base. Now, I thought that going into last year, they're going to find a place for him to play, and everybody got injured, and then he had to move, and then he got injured. Things do happen, but as we sit here in early January, he's my everyday second baseman.
100%. He is really, really good. I want to go back, though, to the Nolan Gorman question when it comes to pitching, because we know how valuable pitching is. Every team knows that, right? It's not a secret. So what are your concerns about the Cardinals being able to develop some young starting pitching? Because if you aren't going to get one via trade, and this is what we have for this season with the starting rotation, which is what it looks like, when is that next young pitcher going to come into the organization, that young controllable arm that can be maybe in that top or front end of your rotation?
Well, you know that for the next 2 years, you're going to have Gray, Michaelis, Matz. And if you want, for the next 2 years, you can have Lynn and Gibson, because they both have options after this year. My question is, are you comfortable starting October with one of those guys being a number 1 against Zach Wheeler of the Phillies? He's going to be around. We don't know about Yamamoto. Is he Yu Darvish? Are you comfortable with what you have, 1, 2, 3, against another team's 1, 2, 3 in the playoffs? And that's where I think the Cardinals need to add at least, and hopefully it's just one arm, because hopefully at some point Graceffo and or McGreevy will come along. Although the Cardinals' track record lately hasn't been great.
Tink Hence maybe too.
Yeah,
throw him in there.
Although I think he probably profiles more as a relief pitcher.
Yes.
Probably, yes.
But
yes.
I would think that the Cardinals are going to have something unusual for them happen if they're going to get an ace out of their farm system.
Well, you're talking in January, right? And that's something to think about, is that guys do emerge as you go along. Guys have good springs, and all of a sudden they catch your eye, and you know what? They have a great year, and they get called up. And, look at what Arizona did with that young kid, the right-hander. I'm trying to think of his name. But he emerged at the very end of the season. You do have stories like that. Not to say that it's always commonplace, because it's not. But things do happen like that at times.
And fortunately for them, in Arizona, they had Gallen, right? The Cardinals have 2 guys out there that could have been that guy. But they aren't here anymore.
I know you're not as high on Gray as I am, and that's fair. I mean, everybody's got an opinion. I do like Sonny Gray, though. I think that he can match up with a lot of the number 1s in the league. Now, is he going to match up when Ohtani's back in 2 years? I don't know if I can make that statement.
Ohtani, Strider
would be in there.
Yeah.
Zach Wheeler, maybe. There's some guys that I think are just at a level that. But there's only
tier,
there's just a handful of them. I see where you're going with it, though, Randy. I really do. Because Sonny Gray doesn't jump off the pages as some of these other guys do.
And I think I don't think Sonny Gray is a bad pitcher. I think there's a misconception out there. I don't think he's a bad pitcher. I
don't think you think that.
No, not at all. And I'm also old school. Right, and I'm not with the times, but I look at Framber Valdez giving Houston 7. I look at Evaldi giving Texas 7. The teams that are winning World Series have a guy in October that's capable of giving them innings.
What would make you think that he doesn't? I'm just curious. If just looking at the track
history,
just the track record of him,
his history, yeah.
And I understand that.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I have, and I don't know if this is going to affect him, but he's 5'10" and 195 pounds, right? And he's got to pitch in 110-degree heat in St. Louis for June, July, August. How's he going to handle that? How's that going to affect him when we get to September and October?
I think every guy's different. Roy Oswalt did it. Yep. Sonny Gray did pitch in Cincinnati. I just think every guy's different. They're different animals in how they train. I think nowadays they train so hard that I see where you're coming from. I really do. I think it's a valid point. But I like him. The more I'm doing deep dives on him, the more I like him. And the more I like him is because of the advanced metrics and analytics. If I looked at it old school and said, well, win-loss is this and this, that, and the other, I'd say, okay. I mean, it's a nice pickup. He's a middle rotation guy. But I just seem to gravitate more just towards liking him than I do disliking him, and finding ways maybe I'm trying to find ways to like him more. I don't know.
Well, and then his attitude and his competitive nature, as you saw in that press conference, you like to see that, right? Where he's talking about how much he hates. And that sounds so simple, but that's something that it felt like we were lacking at times this past season, right?
Yes, yes. I think that's why you brought in Lance Lynn. Now Lance Lynn is Lance Lynn's going to give up his fair share of hits and home runs, but Lance Lynn is a rusty nail.
Yeah, he's crusty.
Yes.
And I'm okay with that.
Me too. They
you
need that.
You need that.
To your point, Brooke, you got these young guys coming. Wait till they get a load of Lance Lynn in spring training.
Yes.
Wait till they get a load of me. You'll find out what Lance Lynn is all about, and I love him. And I think it's something that this organization needed.
And by the way, last year, a career year for Sonny Gray at the age of 33.
That's one of my concerns.
Yeah, and a free agent year.
Yeah.
Coming up next year on 101
That's
ESPN.
what concerns me about Tyler O'Neill.
Yeah,
free agency year represented by Scott Boras. Watch out.
Yeah, right. He'll win some. He'll get some MVP votes, just like Mo said.
Exactly.
Coming up, we've got some Billy Joel Sting tickets for you and Rock and Roll on 101 ESPN. Hey, we want you to know about our friends at Metro. There's a lot going on at Metro that you need to know about. And if you want to support your community and ride to a game and get some great time-saving measures in, then all you need to do is hop on Metro. And you can save time driving. You can save money because you don't have to park. And you can really help out your area because a healthy Metro is vital to the viability to attract Fortune 500 companies. And if you already like Metro, you're going to love it once you know what difference Metro makes in all of our communities. If you think you need any knowledge about Metro, well, you're getting it right here because, Brooke, I know you've taken it a lot to go to games, and it has made a huge difference.
It is. It's just something really easy to do and access. So Metro, they have an app, and that's what I used, Randy, to be able to use it to take it to the Blues game. I didn't have to worry about parking. Think about last night it was snowing. If you're going over the Blues game, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about it snowing, and we talked about the driving in St. Louis when it snows, so you don't have to worry about that either with the Metro link. So I was able to get there. It was just $5 for an all-day pass, and it was super easy to use, and it just takes you right in front of Enterprise Center. I just also really like to support public transportation. I think it's something that it's great for everybody in the community, whether you ride or not. It's something that is valuable for a lot of people, and as you mentioned, Randy, brings a lot of businesses here. So let's ride together towards a brighter future for St. Louis. Thanks to Metro, you don't have to drive to thrive.
So you're fired up about the temperatures in St. Louis coming up this weekend and early next week. We're going to have a high in the single digits one day next week. That is not good. That is too cold. And if your home isn't heating as well as it needs to heat, then you need to get in touch with my friends at Hoffman Brothers. Here's Monday, high of 5 in St. Louis, down to -4. And if you haven't had your heating system maintenance done yet, you need to get in touch with Hoffman Brothers at hoffmanbros.com. Your Mitsubishi Electric heating and air conditioning dealer. And they're going to come out. They're going to make sure that your furnace is good to go for the winter months. They're going to make sure it's clean. They're going to make sure it's efficient. And they're going to tell you how much longer it has to live, because there is a lifespan for your furnace. And if you have that second floor that isn't getting as hot as the first floor, Hoffman Brothers can tell you how they can make it work for you. All you need to do is set an appointment right now at hoffmanbros.com, HOFFMANN, hoffmanbros.com, and make sure that you get your furnace checked out by the best in the business, Hoffman Brothers, a Mitsubishi Electric heating and air conditioning dealer.
I want to rock. And roll.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
Manifest destiny, and you are, and I am. This is my belief. It doesn't have to be yours, but I think that we're meant to be in certain places at certain times. And at the start of our life, we're placed on a canoe that's going down a canal or a river or a stream or whatever, and it's just taking us there. We're on a ride. We are on a ride of life.
Fate, if you will.
Yeah.
Is that what you believe in?
Yeah.
We have some really deep thoughts that happen in between the breaks. Yeah, during the breaks.
That is some kind of deep thoughts you came up with, Randy. We went from Sonny Gray pitching in heat to that.
Yeah, we did. Hey, here's the thing. Regardless, you do, and I do say that we have control over our lives. It's not like we don't have any control. One of the things you want to do on September 27th is be at Busch Stadium for Billy Joel and Sting, because they're coming to town, and you can get a pair of tickets right now for one night only, Friday, September 27th at Busch. Remember when the Cubs used to schedule concerts for October? That was funny. Anyway, you can find all the ticket. They do it like in
April.
In April, yeah. They scheduled concerts for October. Find all the ticket details and a bonus chance to register to win tickets to Billy Joel and Sting at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 mobile app. They've told me after yesterday that I can't come up with the questions anymore. Tickets go on sale Friday at 10 a.m. Because I said there was one.
I thought it was a good question.
Well, thank you.
It did feel good to be on the other end of that situation, though.
Oh, I'll bet. Tickets go on sale Friday at 10, but you can win free tickets right now, right this very minute, by texting the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. Okay, Matthew, what's the question people have to answer?
This is kind of a trick question, because I think everyone's going to guess the easy answer. But my first question here is, what was Billy Joel's first chart-topping song? What was the first Billy Joel song that ever reached #1 in the United States? It's not the one you think. Just going to say that right now.
Really?
You're going to guess the popular one. You're like, that had to hit number one, right? Nope, never did.
So it's not
Number
that
one song?
popular?
It's not that one. No, his first song to ever hit number one. He had 3 hit number one across his career, which was the first one to ever hit number one in the United States.
I'm going to take a guess in my mind here.
Oh, I know. I was going to say it out loud on accident.
Yeah, probably not. But I'm going to.
Sure you can.
Yeah, take some guess. Why not?
Don't go changing.
That was not the guess I expected. Also not the answer.
Okay, good.
I'm moving out.
Is there a certain number,
Close,
or is
though.
it just the first person to get it right?
We're going to go with texture number 13.
Okay.
Oh, is a woman.
Because with all this
to
fate
me.
talk, I'm very superstitious. We're going to go with texture number 13 to get this question right.
Just a little stitious.
Captain
Just a little
Jack,
sis, yes.
scenes from an Italian restaurant, Uptown Girl. You got all kinds of songs you could pick from.
I'll say this right now, Danny Mac has not mentioned it yet. If you're
Really?
still guessing, Danny Mac has not mentioned what his first number
Still
one was. I'm
Rocc
not
and
saying none of
Roll
those
to
were
me.
number one, but I'm saying that that Danny was not mentioning the number one.
Still rock and roll. to
Let's
me.
go to the topic really quickly because I wanted to talk about this yesterday. The Lakers and the Toronto Raptors, yes, I'm going to talk about basketball, were playing a game last night, and it was an odd one. The Lakers won it late in the game, and some stats jumped out to pretty much everyone. The main one being that the Lakers had 36 free throw attempts in the game, and the Toronto Raptors got 13 across the game. Darko Rajakovic is the head coach of the Raptors, and he's going to get fined after his post-game presser.
That's outrageous. What happened tonight, this is completely BS. This is shame. Shame for the referees, shame for the league to allow this. 23 free throws for them, and we get 2 free throws in the fourth quarter. Like, how to play the game. I understand respect for all stars and all that, but we have star players on our team as well. How's possible that Scotty Barnes, who is all-star caliber player in this league, he goes every single time to the rim with force and trying to get to the rim without flopping and not trying to get foul calls. He gets 2 free throws for the whole game. How's that possible? How are you going to explain that to me? They had to win tonight? If that's the case, just let us know so we don't show up for the game. Just give them a win. But that was not fair tonight. And this is not happening first time for us.
So the NBA having a head coach who says that the win was pretty much preordained and that's not the first time it's happened to the Raptors this year, probably not what you want from a league. Not ideal.
I love it, though.
Scotty Barnes.
And here's the thing. The reason why I bring it up is because, again, he very much is calling out the refereeing there. And here's the thing. He's coaching in the one sport that's actually had a referee openly cheat.
That's true.
And like, I hate the conspiracy theories, but this is as betting becomes a bigger thing. There's people are going to attach bigger question marks to these kind of games. And he pointed out it was 36-13 across the whole game. It was 23-2 in the fourth quarter. And watching the second half of that game, he's right. Scotty Barnes was putting the ball on the floor and going to the rack, play after play after play, getting hacked and getting absolutely no calls. And again, it's the Raptors versus the Lakers. Let's go back to like Nets versus Lakers or what different, weird Lakers versus Kings thing that you want to bring up. It's always a little odd when the Lakers get involved.
I think we need more of that. I think the fines need to be reduced, and I think we need people to rip the officials more. I think the officials need to be held accountable. I think the officials need to meet with the media after games.
Yes.
And I think that coaches should be allowed to rip them.
I had Tim Peel on, I guess it was a couple weeks ago, a longtime NHL referee, and I said, why don't you guys meet with the media? And they send down the pool reporter, and he brought up some valid points as to why they don't. But I just think that if you're going to hold a coach accountable and you have players that are accountable that have to answer as to why they did right, wrong, and different, then the official or referee in this this point or umpire should have to do it as well.
Yeah. I 100% agree, because then it goes back to you get to control the narrative a little bit more. If you looked at everything that we talked at length about, everything that happened with the Lions and Cowboys, right? To have more, and I know that Allen did come out and had more of a statement on it, but still just some more clarity of where you can have that back and forth, where the coaches can speak on that more without the fear of getting fined.
I just want to hear from a ref or an umpire, why did you make that call or what did you see?
Yes.
Yeah, what did you see?
That's all, and then it's up to the interpretation of those that read it or listen to it.
Exactly. What was the answer to the question?
It's still rock and roll to me. 1980 was his first number one.
said that.
You said it after I said you hadn't said it yet, and then you kept guessing.
Oh, okay.
Tell Her About It and We Didn't Start the Fire are his only other number one hits in the United States.
So Just the Way You Are, late 70s, 76, 77.
Yeah.
And I think that maxed out at number 3.
Scenes from an Italian Restaurant is my favorite song.
Mine too, ever.
I think it might be my ever favorite song.
Great. You and I both, when Sirius XM does the Billy Joel channel, we're addicted to it.
It's on this month, I believe.
Is it really?
Yeah,
I got to check
think
it out.
so.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like Uptown Girl.
Good
It's
song.
a great one. I like the video a lot.
Oh, yeah, Christy Brinkley. Yeah.
Great job by our producer, audio, video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Brooke, did you have fun today?
I did, yes.
Good. Dan was walking out the door. I just said, "Are you going to complain to Mike Ryder about us?" No, he's not. You have nothing to
I'm
complain about.
frustrated right now. Now with you guys, I'm frustrated with an email that I need to take care of, and I'm trying to click on a thing, and it won't let me click.
Well, we'll take care of that.
And that's what Mike was supposed to help me with, and he's trying too, and he's frustrated.
Yeah, we've got big-time IT people to help you out with that.
Thanks, buddy.
Big time, yeah.
Yeah. We thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show. We've got a balloon party with T-Mac and Ajax coming up, followed by BK and Ferrario, and then the Fast Lane from 2 to 6 for all of us until tomorrow morning at 7. Have a great hump day, St. Louis.
That's right.